economy is already staggering, and to then target something like this could really put a lot of pressure on the Maduro regime, which is clearly what this is intended to do.
An atmospheric river storm churning along the Pacific Northwest and inland, leading to major flooding concerns in western Washington, north of Seattle. Residents packing for possible evacuation after days of rain. The National Guard also being deployed. And the Federal Reserve Board lowered interest rates today. This is ABC News. New changes could be coming for America's visa waiver program. Homeland Security's proposal would require certain foreign visitors coming to the U.S. to supply 5 years' worth of social media history in their application. ABC's Christiane Cordero has more.
How far could the administration go to look at their private messages? But we've seen the administration go so far to say that they are monitoring people who are here for student visas, for example. So this is part of the larger immigration crackdown, whether it's through illegal or legal channels.
Visa applicants will also have to submit a selfie and pay a fee of $40. There will be a 60-day public comment period before the rule might take effect. Expedia out with its list of most searched destinations for this past year. New York taking the top for the search globally. Expedia also released information on affordability. Amarillo, Texas, topping that list. And the most up-and-coming global destination is Matera, Italy. Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
Welcome back to Winter Hack Radio, the place for clever hacks to survive the season. Icy driveway? Well, try spreading sand or bird seed to help with traction. Snowy puppy paws? Well, grab a whisk, brush it off, done. Catch COVID-19? Well, just get...
Actually, there's no hack for COVID-19. But if you test positive, prescription medications for COVID exist. Ask your doctor if they're right for you. Visit PfizerForAll.com to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
CVS Health supports people in the moments that matter, from picking up a prescription to connecting care. With nearly 5 million daily interactions and serving 185 million consumers and 1.5 million healthcare professionals, CVS Health holds a trusted place in healthcare. By simplifying care and improving health, we're helping people get the care they need. Learn more at cvshealth.com/investor day. That's cvshealth.com/investor day.
Dependable Lock Service is your source for replacement car keys, custom safes from Liberty Safe, and so many more lock and key services. With over 30 years of experience in lock and key industry, there's nothing Dependable Lock Service can't do for you. Whether you're looking for duplicate automotive chip keys, rekeying commercial and residential locks, or custom safe building, we've got you covered. Call 603-886-0559. Nashua's dependable lock services 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
The sky's not the limit, it's just the beginning. I'm Ed Mullen from Nashua Aerial Advertising. There's no better way to advertise your business and or message than high in the sky. How can you make your advertising budget work for you? By putting your ads up where they'll stand out. The sky is an uncluttered, impressive venue. You can put your message over a region or location to target your desired demographic. Put your ads where they're needed. We provide coverage over communities through Merrimack Valley, Greater Nashua, Manchester, Lowell, and points throughout South Central New Hampshire and North Central Mass. Summertime beaches, sporting events, races, fairs, and festivals are all ready-made for banner telling. For more information, please visit us online at NashuaAerialAdvertising.com. And remember, the sky's not the limit, it's just the beginning.
NASCAR. It's more than just driving fast and turning left. Bob Bianchi and myself, Bob Bartis, are credential-carrying members of the NASCAR media. Each week, our live 2-hour broadcast breaks down everything happening in the world of NASCAR. We recap the prior week's race results, preview the upcoming races, and discuss the NASCAR news. If you like racing or fast cars, join us live in the showroom at Allen Mello Dodge every Wednesday from 4 to 6 p.m. or listen, stream, and watch at wsmn.live.
Hello. As the holidays approach, we at the Nashua Community Music School want to give thanks to our friends and supporters. Together, we are dedicated to serving our community through music. As we approach this giving season, consider visiting our website, nashuacms.org, or following us on Facebook and Instagram at NashuaCMS to check out all of the amazing businesses and individuals who support us. Want to reach out and see how we can make innovative music accessible to everyone? Give us a call at 603-881-7030 to see how you can help put the community in the Nashua Community Music School.
The views and opinions of the following show do not reflect those of WSMN, its owners, and/or associates.
Welcome to the Common Sense Conservatives, a political discussion group about current events and other government-related matters every Wednesday evening from 7 to 8 p.m. Right here on WSMN 1590 AM, WSMN 95.3 FM, and streaming live on wsmn.live. Making sense of the inverted reality we are subject to every day. The Common Sense Conservatives are here to help bring you back to reality. Now, your hosts, Chris Wyatt, Todd McKinley, and John Groven.
Well, folks, it's Wednesday night. It's time. What is that growing on your face, Todd? My goodness, you've got a chia pet growing.
Trying to be like you.
Got a ways to go. Pet. Yeah, John, he's a little bit behind both of us there, even though I got a trim today. Folks, welcome back. It's Wednesday night, time for the Common Sense Conservatives once again here on WSMN out of Nashua, New Hampshire, and broadcast internationally around the globe. And for the aliens in space who can pick up our signals, you can also pick it up off our terrestrial signal there on WSMN. I want to welcome my co-host tonight once again is John Grosvenor up in the studio in Nashua, New Hampshire. John, how's it going?
Going great up here, Chris. You know, people complaining about the increase of business taxes here in New Hampshire. They've been having some discussions about that. I've talked to some people complaining about their home taxes going up incredibly. So, you know, people paying $14,000 a year is just a bit much, but and up and above in some places, I'm sure. We actually have a view tax up here. Can you imagine? You know, you got a nice mountain
view tax.
You got to pay a view tax. So
you pay a tax for the scenery.
Yeah, man. If you're privileged enough to buy that house on top of the mountain and see all the mountains over there just cascading across the skyline,
sounds like a bunch of commies to me.
Live free or die. It's more like pay a bunch of taxes, right?
My goodness, that's just frightening.
The beautiful thing, we don't have an income tax and we don't have a sales tax in New Hampshire.
We have
that's beneficial for us.
We don't have an income tax, but our property rates are very low here where I'm at. I mean, they went up this past year, but much lower than you guys. Wow.
Well, John, I think you should just charge the Massachusetts residents who come up there and spend their days there extra tax. That'll make up for the shortfall.
Be like North Carolina, maybe put toll booths at the North Carolina wanted to do this years ago, put toll booths at the state lines. So they can charge people using their interstates to
there you go.
Taxes.
Sounds like a plan. And also our co-host there in the eastern part of Tennessee, out in the foothills of Appalachia, none other than my trusty non-commissioned officer, Sergeant First Class retired, Todd McKinley.
Hey, Colonel, how are you, sir?
I'm all right, except for that chia pet growing on your face.
I'll take care of it next week.
No, man, you're never going to enter manhood if you shave it off, Todd.
Oh, John. All right. No, let it grow, Todd. We're just giving you a hard time there. Merry Christmas, guys.
You too, sir.
Yeah, man. Wait, we got a show between now and Christmas, right? Today's only
yeah. But I mean, it's never too early to say it.
No. Happy holidays by all means.
Oh, stop that, you commie! It's Merry Christmas, and then Happy Holidays. You know,
lefty John Grosvenor.
I tell you, really? between Christmas and New Year's, we'll let you say season's greetings, but none of this nonsense.
I guess you're right. It is after Thanksgiving, so I mean, we got Christmas and New Year's, so I guess saying Happy Holidays after Thanksgiving is moot.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and get to it right off the bat, folks. Welcome back. Breaking news this evening out of the Caribbean, where U.S. Appear to be special forces based on the video that I saw using Seahawk, which are Black Hawk helicopters for the sea. But I couldn't tell the color of them actually made them look more like they were Army helicopters. But I believe they were Seahawk from the Navy, rappelling of a teams onto a Venezuelan flagged oil tanker that is sanctioned. We believe it's the skipper, but that's not confirmed. The name of the ship. They rappelled onto that aircraft earlier today and seized this tanker with over 1 million barrels of oil on it. Man, this is huge news, and it really escalates things. But people, before they freak out, understand that tanker is sanctioned, if that in fact is a skipper, and that's the reason for it. It's sanctioned for shipping oil to and from Iran, and that is a problem. Yeah. So, Todd, any thoughts on that one? That's pretty crazy as we get the evening started.
Right, absolutely. Well, first thing, whenever I saw the images, I began critiquing the fast roping technique immediately. I was like, okay, that guy's good. He knows what he's doing. This guy's done this a few times. So that was my first thought. And then I was like, why are they there? And I'm like, oh, they ship oil to and from Iran. That's not a good thing. Let's go ahead and see what's on this thing.
But they've been doing this for years, right? I mean, that was one of their primary destinations was Iran.
Well, no one's taken action against it, and finally Trump is taking action. Yeah. The thing about it is, too, is that, as you said, the fast roping, of course, remember in Mogadishu, because of they were trying to dodge an RPG that came at one of the helicopters. One of those soldiers fell and broke his back. A horrible situation as he went out on the fast rope. But that's a very dangerous operation for those who've never done it. But I have to look at it again, whether it was fast rope. It did look like they were rappelling when they came out. But fast rope, of course, you're not connected in. You just slide down the rope. Whatever the case is, 2 helicopters, 2 Black Hawks went or Seahawks, whichever they are, the same airframe, went out and they did boarding operations, something that Special Forces and Navy does repeatedly. They train for boarding operations, which is a primary mission for them to interdict. Now, I said on my podcast that the Coast Guard seized it because technically the Coast Guard is the one responsible for seizing it. Whether it was a Delta or a SEAL team or it was other Special Forces, really isn't germane. It was a combined operation between the military services and the Coast Guard and apparently other U.S. agencies. But what an incredible sight to see. Pam Bondi already released the footage of this, which is fascinating. Of course, people say, why would the Attorney General have it? Because it's criminal activity, violating sanctions.
They are serving a search warrant, by the way. They are acting in a law enforcement capacity, and they can do that because they're outside the U.S. territorial waters. So.
Exactly. And it's also international waters. And this is the sort of thing. I mean, one could make the argument, I believe, I'm not an attorney, but can make the argument that a ship that's sanctioned that's doing this is in some respects engaged in piracy of some sort in the high seas. I believe that. So, but I'm not a attorney.
Chris, you got to give us some clarity here because you're saying this ship is sanctioned, but from my understanding, Venezuela is a sovereign nation and they have a right to make bargains and deals with whom they please, don't they?
Well, they do, but I believe the United Nations has sanctioned oil exports from Iran, not the United States. I could be wrong on that. I stand on correction. But if the United Nations has applied those sanctions, they can be sovereign all they want, but that doesn't mean they're allowed to ship things to and from Iran.
So this is United Nations thing. So this is international law is what we may be dealing with here.
Well, I believe that's the case. Again, I stand on correction. It's just a breaking story right now. I'd have to research a little bit more. But whatever the case is, this is not just like because what we're going to hear from Nicolas Maduro and from the leftists in Congress, that Jazzy Crockett, can I see her hands flying all over the place and her eyelashes smacking up against the freaking microphone. And I'm not body shaming. She takes all the crap off. She's an attractive woman. She looks like a clown the way she's dressed now. But I can already see Jazzy Crockett. This is an unsanctioned illegal activity. Oh, the rogue Trump administration. But again, it's a sanctioned ship. This isn't an unprovoked activity. They don't just go and board Venezuelan ships. They did this because this ship in particular, which we believe to be the skipper, the name of the ship, the skipper, is a sanctioned ship. And therefore, it's not allowed to be operating. And it was operating. So look, if this doesn't ratchet up the pressure on Maduro, I don't know what will, other than bombing Caracas. But certainly this is going to get people's attention, Todd. I mean, look, I got to say, I was with you. When I watched the video, even though I was doing a news report and trying to analyze it very quickly, I'm looking at this. I'm watching the guys who are coming off the helicopter and watching the boarding operations, watching them go around because there's another helicopter standing off, filming everything, and I'm watching them go up the stairs and clear the corner. And I'm like, hey, these guys know what they're doing.
Yeah, and they were so smooth about it too. You know, they went around those corners like quick, and it's like, man, anybody was standing there with a gun or whatever, they throw their hands up or you're shot pretty quickly. You're not going to respond to those guys.
Yeah, it was smooth. It was smooth like butter or X-Lax. Take your pick.
Right.
Oh man,
if you see
butter,
them, you're
butter sounds good.
Yeah, you're going to blow chunks for sure if you see them.
No kidding. That pretty smooth. So now we have. I'd like to see Trump's response. So the press asked me, "So what's going to happen to the oil?" And Trump's like, "Well, we keep it, I guess."
We keep it, I guess.
Oh, man.
Hey, finders keepers, right?
Oh my goodness. Look, I tell you, shift a little bit from that. Now we've covered that initially here, but shift a little bit from that story. Last night in the Poconos up here in northeastern Pennsylvania, President Trump was less the president, more an entertainer. And so, of course, Al Jazeera and others had to fact check him. And by the way, on the Al Jazeera fact check, they were correct on a couple of times because he was embellishing and having a little fun, and they took him like he was seriously. But they also got their fact check wrong on at least 3 occasions, which I had to correct Al Jazeera. But Trump was holding court last night, and if you're afraid of potty mouth, last night wasn't the time to watch Trump. Trump clearly doesn't care about elections. Trump clearly doesn't about ever running for office again. He doesn't care because he is it's all coming out. He talked about Jazzy Hands Crockett. He talked about AOC. He talked about Ilhan Omar. Talked about her marrying her brother.
Right? I mean, things are looking that way. And I think, was it Scott Bessent, cabinet secretary, recently on MSNBC or CNN, one of the two, they tried to press him on her, and he called him out and said, no, the investigation is going this way. It looks like money that from COVID-19 and other places have went overseas to support, people that are trying to kill Americans. And he said, that's where this looks like this is going. He said, well, does it look like Ilhan Omar is involved? And he didn't give an answer specifically, but he basically said, we're going to follow that investigation. And it looks like it may.
Well, it's about time because the heat is going to be cranked up against that loudmouth, obnoxious, anti-American scumbag from Minnesota, who now we have disclosure tonight. I think Tom Homan is the one that released this. She committed tax fraud, it appears. She committed tax fraud by claiming the wrong husband as a dependent on her tax return. Now, how do you identify the wrong person you're married to? I mean, now if you got divorced during that year, one might make an excuse, but she had not been married to this other person for some time, and she fraudulently claimed, I haven't seen the tax return. This is what the U.S. government official is saying. So that alone will get her a prison sentence. On top of that, if she's tied to this money going back to Somalia, she's in a lot of trouble here. And if she did marry her brother to commit fraud, there's no statute of limitations on defrauding the United States. So she could be stripped of her citizenship over that. And if that happens, Democrats are going to lose their mind. And the joy that they're feeling having won Miami's mayorship for the first time in 3 decades is going to be short-lived if little Ilhan Omar finds herself being booted out of the country. And by the way, what's with the nose ring? All this, demure, chaste appearance with the headscarf but she wears the most outrageous clothing, and what's nose piercing? I mean, the purpose of that is being chaste and being reserved. So why are you putting things on to make yourself look more attractive? I'm just saying.
Yeah. Also, I didn't think women in Islam were allowed to. Maybe some countries allowed to actually serve in elective office or anything like that.
No, that's not Islam. That's a cultural thing.
Okay, so that's Islam
is and the same thing with the clothing. I mean, Indonesia is the largest Muslim country in the world, and women don't dress like they do in Saudi Arabia, where they're virtually prisoners behind this.
Of course,
the hijab. But no, it's a cultural thing where men oppress women. It's not Islam. It's not really a fact. The only thing about Islam is women are supposed to be, well, I'm looking for the right word here, but none of this is Islamic. It's all cultural, and it's like female genital mutilation. People attribute it to Islam. It's not Islam. Christians do it, unfortunately, too, and animists. It's a sick practice, barbaric practice from basically just above the equator, a zone in Africa and the Middle East where people in this region just must lose their minds and decide they're going to molest and mutilate their daughters. It's really sick and twisted. It's one of those cultural practices. We have something in America. I think I've talked this a couple of years ago. It's called the cutting season now. Nobody wants to talk about it. 600,000 young women and girls are at risk of being sent back home to see granny or auntie in places like Nigeria or Yemen or Somalia, Eritrea, Ethiopia. And then, of course, they're molested and their genitalia are mutilated by these people. And these are American citizens, girls born in this country, but culturally, they come from these places. These are people who have no business in America. If you want to live in that barbaric, pre-civilization era, then go back to the place you came from and don't bring your garbage here. It's sickening and it's twisted. We have a responsibility to protect American citizens, and letting these people do this to their children. It's like honor killings. Anybody who tries to commit honor killing, these people have no business in our country. That is not our culture. That is not our norm. And this is not a country that's here to be bifurcated by corrupt values. If you don't like our values, then don't come here. This shouldn't be a parachute landing for your corrupt, barbaric 13th century ways. And that's the bottom line. Is that xenophobic? No. Foreigners are welcome. But we have rules, mores, and norms and laws. You want to follow them and adapt them, you can retain your unique cultural distinctiveness as long as it's not a barbaric practice that we have a problem with.
Sure.
I mean, if you want to practice cotillion, there's nothing wrong with that. You want to practice bar mitzvah, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you want to come here and slice a genitalia off your 11-year-old daughter, we've got a problem with that.
Bingo. Exactly. 100%. Yeah. You can celebrate all these things like you just talked about. And people do on a regular basis. There's any number of event centers that are having, quintillions or whatever the case may be, bar mitzvahs, making money off of this. It's not a big deal. But like I said, you come here and you do these barbaric things, stay the hell at home or get the heck out.
Yeah, exactly. So, John, have you ever heard any of that stuff? Did I mention on the show before? I think I did about the
no, but I've heard about genital mutilations before, and I didn't think they were going on over here, but I assume they probably do actually happen here in the United States as well.
They do.
I know I've read articles about honor killings.
Yep.
And that's actually happened here in the United States. Of course, they've been captured. Some people have done it and tried to escape back to their Arabic
barbaric part of the world. Well, it's not uncommon in the United Kingdom. The United Kingdom has been colonized by people from part of the world who practice such barbaric things. It has happened in the United States, but it's very common, unfortunately, in the United Kingdom. And it's something that the political left just ignores. Diversity is our strength. No, it's not. No, homogenization is our strength. Diversity isn't the diversity they talk about anyway. Having a black, a brown, a blue, a green, a yellow, a Christian, a Muslim, a Jew, a Buddhist, a Wiccan.
I think we should give a thanks out to the people of England too, by the way, because they're uprising against what's going on with Islam in their own nation. People in the United States are finally speaking up. It's like, great, finally, people are speaking up against this.
Well, because people are illegitimately fearful of being called Islamophobe. Well, I mean, how can I be an Islamophobe? I don't fear Islam. I've lived in Islamic countries. I've adhered to the norms of those countries, their laws and mores and norms. I even practiced, fasting during Ramadan, the entire time during Ramadan when I lived in a Muslim country. I have no fear of Islam. I have no fear of Islamic radicals. So we have a place for them in Guantanamo Bay.
Right. Or the bottom of the ocean, right?
Well, that's a whole other story. But yeah, Todd, did you want to jump in there?
No. I was just going to agree with what you said. Basically, it's 100% spot on. We're not xenophobe, homophobe, whatever the phobia is. Also, if it was a phobia, wouldn't that be a true medical issue that we should get help for? Not
Exactly.
Be
Where's the compassion?
Right.
I have a phobia.
I'm suffering from the phobia. Oh no.
Yeah. Transphobia. I'm fearful of transgenders. You should help me. You should be compassionate.
It's like somebody who has, a fear of water. Usually they have rabies, but still,
hydrophobia.
We try to treat them, right? You know what I mean?
Oh, I don't have a fear, but I have a revulsion at Democratic Party. Does that count as an illness?
No, that counts as you being sane and rational.
Oh, that counts as common sense.
Common sense. Thank you.
Speaking of which, before we get on other topics there, did you see the Jazzy Hands? Jazzy Crockett is running for the Senate in Texas.
Oh, finally she announced it. All right, good.
What do you think she's going to do?
38%.
38%.
Oh, 38.
That's going to be her final vote, or are you talking about?
No, I think that's what she'll get in the general election. She'll get 38%.
Yeah.
She's running for John Cornyn's seat that he's vacating.
Yeah, Texas is a big state, and you've got all these big cities in Texas that predominantly go left, but just the same time, it's kind of like here in Nashua. You got at least as many Republicans as you do Democrats.
But you also have a lot.
It doesn't mean just because they're a left-leaning city that it's all left.
Yeah, that's true. But you also have a lot of Republicans out of California who's moved there who's still going to vote Republican, by the way. So that's going to help the statewide count there for whoever happens to run against her on the Republican side.
The Coast Guard not the Coast Guard. The administration has confirmed that is the skipper, the ship that was seized. It is, and so we can confirm now that is the skipper, which is a sanctioned ship. That was a supposition based on publicly available data. Now the government has confirmed that. Yeah. So guys. I mean, Jazzy Hands. This woman is a disaster. Her own staff has described her as someone that's completely disconnected from legislation. All she does is check her social media. Surprise, surprise.
Right. Yeah. And she's always on social media. There's several members of Congress now that's pretty much what they do on a daily basis. You see them outside, the Capitol steps doing a video or whatever. And it's like, this is basically their bulk of their work is doing things like that, doing little updates in their office, working hard for you. It's like they're doing very little for you. They're just getting some social media posts. That's it. Done.
I've seen people like Kat Kasmick that out of Florida, third district out of Florida. And she'll go on Facebook and do lives, but she's doing like, hey, here's my staff, everybody, and we're going through the 2,100 pages of this bill that's coming up.
Right.
And we're gonna itemize everything and vote down these things. And she'll do things like that. And then what you're referring to, you see these people like Jasmine Crockett or AOC. They're more when they're in Congress for their fame. They expect to generate revenue and things out of it. They're not
and money.
The right
reasons. Right. It's a brand for them. A lot of them.
Occasionally, there is a member of Congress that does have a social media page that I do want to watch. Anna Paulina Luna. Yes.
I know her.
Yeah.
I've had her at a few events down in Florida actually during the 2020 re-election campaign. She was there, and of course Don Jr. and a few other people I had at my event site there. So it's pretty. She's nice.
When I see her social media, when I see her social media, I'm not really looking for substance from Congress. I'm just saying.
Right.
I hear that ABC is commissioning a new show, a new talk show, and to give views from the political left and political right. This show is called The Dystopian View. The lead hosts are Marjorie Taylor Greene and Jasmine Crockett. That's what I heard. Anyway, I don't know if you guys heard about that show.
Yeah, or we could put our Republicans on there, and a Paulina, like you just said, and a few others, and be like, hey, this is our show. They don't have to say anything. Be like, all right, good job, guys. You blew them out of water. Ratings are
the swimsuit edition. Is that what you're asking for?
What?
No. I always try to make light of Marjorie Taylor Greene on the outside now. And so she's already started her revenge tour, appearing on 60 Minutes. That was embarrassing. Sorry to see that. But anyway, so, oh my goodness. I
didn't watch the interview. How was she in that? Was she just can't hold up to the scrutiny of 60 Minutes?
No, I watched clips and I was just embarrassed for her. It's a shame. Yeah. But anyway, so
whoa, there you go. Beat up your microphone. So does she look like she's like switching sides here, or she's lost stability and where she stands as far as
I think that with her is that I have a feeling she aspired to higher office, like a Senate seat, and Trump wasn't going to endorse her because she was like a dog with a bone in these Epstein files. And again, the Epstein files are more damage for the Democrats, but she came across as blaming Trump for them not being released. But she didn't say jack squat for the past 4 years about the Epstein files. And that's why Trump is upset. If she really wanted Epstein files and she's got such a big mouth, where was she at for 4 years demanding the Epstein file release? She was nowhere.
Right.
Nowhere. Just like a lot of these Republicans. And that's why I think they're suspect.
A lot of people are counting on Trump to get back in to get those files. But
Hey,
a lot of things we
That's-
overlook, even on this show, sometimes we overlook. The courts have sealed a lot of them files.
They seal the grand jury testimony, which is norm. Rarely do you release grand jury testimony because it's damaging. It's I'm talking about you endanger the lives of the people on the grand jury, among other things. It's just it's not a practice we want to get into. But yes, Trump has released documents and records on the Epstein files 4 times now. Now we're still waiting for the 4th time to come out. They had 30 days, and that 30 days is about to run out. So I'm sure we'll see some release soon. But my point with Marjorie Taylor Greene is that for 4 years, she's happy to scream about this, that, and the other, but she didn't say squat about the Epstein files. And now suddenly it's a big deal when Trump is in office. If she was committed to this cause, she should have been taught. Look, female genital mutilation is an issue I've been talking about for years. I don't just talk about it when it's election time. I don't just talk about it when someone that's favorable to what I want to be done comes in office. Right now, nobody wants to talk about it, but I do talk about it. And that's what irritates me about her. So look, I'm not anti-MTG. I'm just saying she's a firebrand who pulls a pin and throws a grenade in a room and walks away. And she didn't do that about the Epstein files for 4 years. And now it's suddenly the reason she's got an issue with Trump. Come on, be serious.
Yeah. We have a lot of people in politics now. That's what they do. They think throwing the hand grenade in the room is being a leader or exposing somebody or being out front on the issue. It's like, no, you just threw a grenade in a room and, yelled at a lot of people, leveled a lot of accusations. Nothing to back it up, but the accusations are out there. But you don't have to back it up. You just throw out these accusations. I'm supporting the victims over here. It's like, which victims are you talking about? What specifically? Also, we have courts for that, not you throwing a hand grenade in the room. I'm sorry.
Well, she gave the excuse, and this is a legitimate excuse, I believe. She gave the excuse that she's leaving because, you can't get legislation on the floor. So she says she's introduced multiple pieces of legislation that goes nowhere because the Speaker of the House won't do anything with it. And if that's true, which I don't doubt, then she's got a legitimate basis for it. But this little, attention-seeking tour after the fact proves that that's not what it's about. That was just top cover for why she's leaving. She's really leaving because she's bum-hurt, in my view, that she's not going to get endorsement for a higher office. She wasn't nominated to be secretary of anything. She was not, getting the endorsement of Trump to be a senator. So I think that's what the genesis is, in my view. Now, I could be completely wrong, but all I can say is that what has she done in Congress 6 years other than cause chaos? Not a damn thing.
Nothing. Well, she's always in front of a microphone, always in front of a camera, causing chaos. Right. That's not leadership. I'm sorry. Now, you want to cause some chaos on a real true issue, back it up with substance and then deliver on it. Don't just throw the hand grenades in the room and say, I did something. You did nothing but create chaos. And now all of a sudden you've sown a lot of doubt out there saying that there's this and this and this, but you can't actually point to it. I'm sorry.
When you say leadership, Todd, are you talking about for people or are you talking about within Congress itself?
Well, I'm talking about not only within Congress, but within the party, also within the committees that she's on. Has she provided any leadership outside of just, raising heck whenever you get a chance? Like I said, whenever there's a microphone or a camera, and this is all that you do is just lambast and yell at people or whatever, you're not providing leadership.
Yeah.
You've led on nothing, but they think that that's the actual leadership because you're yelling and talking into a camera. Mm-hmm. That's just content.
My take on Marjorie is she kind of goes in there with her own agenda and she thinks everybody should just dance to her tune. And so she's complaining because the party didn't follow along with her dance. And so that's why she didn't get any bills to go through Congress. Nobody brought them to House floor for votes because she was trying to create her own agenda. She wasn't getting involved with people and other people's agendas and working as a group. She wasn't a team player in Congress.
John, I think you're onto something there. And I would also say that I'm a bit annoyed at her pretending she's the original MAGA. That's her. She's all about, I was there from the beginning. I've done anything for Trump. I'm the original MAGA. Excuse me. We, the three of us, were here long before Marjorie Taylor Greene, anybody knew about her, long before Trump ever announced running for office. We're true conservatives, have believed in true conservative values of small government, freedom, and all our liberties. We are the ones in a strong national defense, not these people. They may have been conservatives, but they weren't out in front of doing this. We were here long before them. Well, long after Trump is gone, we'll still be championing conservative values and calling for a smaller, responsible government, fiscal responsibility. We'll always be here. So that really torqued me off too about her too, because if only she's the real person. Give me a break. It's another reason I had trouble with not the God rest his soul, but another reason I had trouble with Charlie Kirk, because he rubbed me wrong too, because him and Turning Point USA only want to talk to people who are under the age of 15. Give me a break.
He made more about millennials and stuff. He interacted with older people, Gen X and things like that. But at
only
the same time, his
people
movement was catered towards
for kids, and he only talked to older people who could get something for him. The rest of us,
I noticed that.
The rest of us could help his movement and want to be part of it. We were just refugees to him, and that's unfortunate.
Honestly, I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to Charlie Kirk, but that part of it never bothered me because he was moving millennials. He was doing a part.
Well, it bothered me because when the organization started, it stated its values, and I said I'd like to be involved with this. I was still serving military, but I still and they had no interest.
No, but the thing is, they'll endorse candidates for office.
Right, exactly. They'll endorse candidates for office who are 50 and 70 years old, but they won't listen to 40, 50-year-olds.
No, but those people generally have some sort of money or some sort of, or a lot of times they're already in office, you know what I mean? And they have money behind them. So it's easy to endorse somebody like that. It's easy to get on that bandwagon. Like Marjorie Taylor Greene with Trump. Whenever she was running originally, Trump's coattails were fairly long. Like many people running for Congress at that time, even people who didn't win, they jumped on those coattails hoping for an endorsement. And very selectively, he endorsed people across the country to get them into Congress and get them on his side to push his agenda in Congress. And she was one of those people that he picked out of the basically the lineup, if you will. She was lucked into it.
She was a diehard. I mean, the way like Chris described her, the way she spoke and stuff, and the way she defended him, she was definitely a diehard.
But what I'm saying is, those coattails of Trump are very long, so it was easy for her to be MAGA. You know what I mean? If she needed to be something else, she probably would have been.
And also, this is childish because the only thing that she's talking about, she has a problem with Trump for the most part, is the Epstein files.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, I've got problems with some of the stuff Trump does, including some of the stuff he said in Pennsylvania last night. But that doesn't mean that we just throw our toys out of the crib or out of the pram and walk away and say we're not going to play. And that's what she's doing. Adults, you don't agree with everything. I mean, if you agree with everything a person says, you're just a sycophant. Right. So we can have differences, and I have differences with President Trump. Absolutely. But the bottom line here, folks, is that I'm not thrilled the way she's handled this. And, and it plays right into the playbook of the New York Slimes, the Washington Compost, and all these leftists who are talking about a fracture in the MAGA community. I pay no attention to this because I don't see this. Like the stuff now, the country and affordability. Look, I have been to Virginia, Maryland, New York, Pennsylvania, Idaho, Wyoming, Utah, all in the past 3 months. I haven't a single person I sat down with to have a conversation complain about the cost of living. A lot of them are like, thank God prices aren't going up anymore. And I'm also seeing that my prices have come down because energy costs have declined. And all I keep going on is about prices. Did they expect Trump to come in and magically lower prices? No, that stuff is baked in. The only way those prices come down is if energy declines significantly and then the producers lower the cost. Because here's the reality. If the prices drop too much too fast, we have a depression. De-inflation is worse than inflation. I mean, hyperinflation is the worst, but de-inflation because if the economy will stall if prices collapse too much.
It crash.
That's right. And the reason prices drop fast is because no one's buying anything. No one buys anything. Producers don't need employees because they can't sell the inventory they have. So you don't want prices to come down too fast or you have an economic crisis. And it kills me to listen to these morons and so-called economists that don't understand basic macroeconomic principles, which is what I'm talking about here. And of course, I've taught that at postgraduate level. So before anybody starts saying, what does he know? He's a YouTuber. He's a radio personality. I actually know what I'm talking about here. De-inflation or deflation is worse than moderate inflation. At least moderate inflation is an indicator that the economy is growing and there's scarcity. And that's why prices are rising. That's one reason for it. But the bottom line here is that Trump has played, 10 months, what he's accomplished is unprecedented. Whether you like Trump or not, if you're an objective observer, you'll be like, whoa, wait a second. The amount of money coming to the federal government has increased dramatically, both from income taxes, which means people are employed, and also from these tariffs. And despite all the lies about prices are going to spike because of tariffs, it hasn't happened. It hasn't happened. I mean, there are some price increases, but much of that has been absorbed by the producers and the middlemen, which is what I predicted. But they said, oh, it's a tax on the consumer. They're going to pay for all of it. No, we haven't. We've just squeezed the margins of the people producing these things. I mean, they may not like it, but too bad. People are getting ripped off in America. It's about time we got even.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, paying high prices for stuff that we shouldn't be paying high prices for, just because you can get away with it.
Also, like the European Union charging us 10% tariff for every car that gets imported to the European Union. That covers the whole region. And then each country has its own value-added tax. So Germany has 19%. So you ship a car to Germany, a Chrysler or a General Motors product, a Tahoe, you send it there, the Germans want to buy it, but they've got to pay 10% tariff plus 19% value-added. That's 29% more for the cost of the car. And yes, I know most states have a sales tax, but not all do. And so the states that don't have a sales tax, that's costing 1/3 more for the same car. Plus, you got to ship it across the Atlantic. They ship their cars here for 2.5% duty, but they charge us 10%. Now, how is that fair? That's why our cars are failing. That's why
balanced.
It is, and that's what Trump is writing. And everybody wants to run around and talk about punitive tariffs and Trump this, and then he doesn't. No, but it's actually smart. Trump is doing. So, I prefer to not have these tariffs, but these countries should not be cheating us.
Do you think that maybe Trump might be doing a service for the world? Because if he balances out tariffs in the world, will that help drive the cost of products for them down a little bit, where it becomes more affordable to them to live as well?
Well, if countries show some reciprocity, lower their tariffs, and we bring ours back down, both sides win. But those who can't produce efficiently, manufacturers, they lose. That's why these countries have these high tariffs. So they keep our goods out of their marketplace. China doesn't want us selling Chryslers and selling Cadillacs in China, but Chinese want Cadillacs. But we started producing them in China because we can't ship them in, and they put all these barriers in, so we can't produce them effectively there. Yeah. But yes, consumers can actually benefit in the end, but it means both sides have to lower the.
Well, that's the whole idea in the long run, right? Is that Trump is looking for some balance here, and so if everybody starts reducing their tariffs, I'm thinking that it increases competition in these other countries, and they'll benefit as well from the work that Trump's doing here.
Well, it's possibly, but it's the bottom of the hour, and I'd be remiss if I didn't announce this. Folks, you're listening to WSM and the Common Sense Conservatives, 1590 on your AM dial, 95.3 in the FM dial, and you can catch us on, as Todd's favorite description, the interwebs. You can find us on the Facebook, I think, and also on YouTube channels out there. So just look us up, the Common Sense Conservatives, every Wednesday night, 7 to 9 Eastern Standard Time, rain or shine. The only thing we worry about is John getting to the studio, but Todd and I are pretty easy to get to our studios. It's a short distance. Anyway,
I sometimes worry about that being a truck driver. What happens? I get stuck in a traffic backup or this. I mean, I got people I can call, but it's just, you got to think about these things,
Well, guys, you do think about those things, but here's another one. U.S. District Judge Charles Breyer rejected the Trump administration's argument that protests outside federal immigration authorities constitute a rebellion, and said the president overstepped his bounds in deploying California National Guard troops to protect U.S. facilities. Well, the judge is wrong. The president has the authority to protect federal property. That's what was under attack. The federal government has argued that the sometimes violent protests against U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement were interfering with the government's ability to enforce federal law. True. Now, there is a federal Posse Comitatus Act, which you talked about before. It restricts the ability of the federal government to use military for domestic law enforcement. A president may take over federalized state troops, National Guard troops on an emergency basis in certain circumstances.
Title 10 codes.
Well, it's Title 22 for the National Guard. You federalize and make them Title 10.
I always brought up that Title 10 code, Section 253, where it talks about the president may use the militia.
Correct. The authority,
right?
The authority is a Title 10, but the National Guard falls under Title 22 until federalized. When they're federalized, they fall under Title 10, and that's what Trump is exercising. The bottom line is the judge is using a very narrow description, saying he can't use the forces because it's law enforcement. He can only use them for an insurrection. The problem with that is that an attack on federal facilities is an insurrection. Right. It is an insurrection. It wasn't like they were spray painting graffiti outside the building. They were damaging federal vehicles from the GSA. They were attacking federal law enforcement officials, and therefore someone needed to defend it. The Los Angeles police refused. The California Highway Patrol did not intervene and protect federal property. Are we supposed to let them burn down federal buildings and murder federal employees? No. The president has a right to intervene, and he did.
It's not just about federal either. It's about state. It's about violation of rights. It's about a number of things. And what is synonymous with activist judge? Oh, Charles Breyer, because that's exactly what he's being in, as activist judge. He's deliberately being obtuse to the law for his own personal gain or benefit, politically speaking.
He's a 10,000-year-old fossil leftist Democrat whose brother was on the Supreme Court as a fossil leftist Democrat. And so, it's not surprising he behaves in this fashion. People like this should be retired. Go out Neverland. I think there's space out there. Michael Jackson isn't around anymore. He can hang out in Neverland. But this is just it's ridiculous behavior on the part of a judge. The president has every right to defend federal property, and forcing us to leave it undefended because of corrupt California Highway Patrol Police, corrupt Los Angeles Police Department, answering to gruesome Gavin Newsom and the mayor, the lunatic in charge out there, Karen Bass. By the way, no homes rebuilt in Pacific Palisades a year later. They've built one model home. That's it.
I thought Newsom made some sort of statement about not wanting to rebuild homes over there. He wanted to use the land for other purposes.
Of course, that's why they let it burn.
Yeah, right. All the firemen should stand down, pull out the hot dogs and marshmallows, and enjoy the flame.
The people who were there, the homeowners, have lost, hundreds of millions of dollars, probably into the billions of dollars. Billions of dollars. Individuals losing, even just, an everyday person lost a house that's probably worth, $200,000, and it's gone. That's it. Done.
And it's not coming back because they're not giving housing permits and they're not doing anything. So look, this judge is out of control, and this state is out of control, and it's just a shame.
I think that was his third time ruling against Trump, wasn't it?
Yeah, that guy needs to retire.
So he's burdening the Supreme Court to let rule on things that he should have adequately ruled on himself.
Well, I'll tell you, it's just it's a problem, and this guy's a problem, and many of these judges are a problem. They don't realize that their job is to interpret the law and ensure that the proceedings are fair. That's their only job, unless it's a verdict that comes to a judge specifically. But this is very frustrating. The court's undermining federal executive authority. It happens all the time. And the thing is, the Trump administration will adhere to it, and then they'll call him a fascist dictator. But Biden just ignored the courts. There were no consequences. Every time a court ruled against him, the government still did what they wanted to do. Same with Obama. Obama murdered American citizens extrajudicially, and nothing was done to him. And of course, Lois Lerner, violated federal law, and lots of officials in the Obama administration violated nothing. All those executive officials were escaped from scrutiny, and the press paid no attention to it. But these judges are out of control. They're activist judges. Their job is to interpret the law, not to make decisions that violate the co-equal status of the legislative, the executive, and the judicial branches, which is exactly what they're doing. They're violating that sanctum, and it's wrong. And also, where does a federal district judge get the authority to ban all federal activity? They're for a certain district, and any activity that occurs there. Going to these district courts like the Ninth Circuit Court to get a judgment to stop nationwide or global activity is simply, it's not the spirit of the Constitution. There's something wrong with that, Todd.
Right. No, I agree with you. My interpretation, and they only control what happens in a specific district or what have you. And they can make a ruling, temporary banning something until there's a case, right, in that area, not the entire nation, as my understanding was.
Well, he ruled that Trump can't use National Guard in LA. He didn't rule that he can't use them in Washington.
No, we're saying in general on a lot of rulings that happen.
Not this judge. Yeah.
Specifically to this case.
I think what you're saying is circuit courts usually make those assessments. Not
right. We've had like the Ninth Circuit say the president can't deport people. What authority do they have? They're in the Ninth Circuit. They don't have any authority over the executive branch. If the Supreme Court says, well, then we've got a real story here. But the Ninth Circuit is geographically fixed, and people destination shop. They go to the circuit court in D.C. because they know it's hostile to Republicans and Trump, and they destination shop for these cases and file them. It's fascinating. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court declared that people who filed lawsuits from the Trump team and from these third parties in 2020 over the mail-in ballots, they said they don't have standing. Well, of course they have standing. I mean, they're affected by the actions that happened in Pennsylvania, whether Pennsylvania residents or not, doesn't matter. Trump had a campaign. He campaigned for votes in Pennsylvania, and Pennsylvania violated the law under Josh Shapiro as Attorney General, Kelly Boothfar as the Secretary of State, and little Tommy Wolf, the little scumbag who was the governor. They violated Pennsylvania election law, which wasn't even a year old. And of course, people have a standing. I have a standing. If I had money, I'd have sued these clowns, but I don't have money. Not like that kind of money. You need millions for that. Yeah. So it's just very frustrating to these activist judges and their nonsense. And not because they simply disagree with them. There are cases that go my way that I think the judges have no say in it. But guys, Air DHS. Did you hear about this? Air DHS. That's what I'm calling it.
No, tell me more. Tell me more.
Well, maybe we'll call it Deportation Airlines.
Oh, there we go.
Department of Homeland Security has inked a contract to purchase its own fleet of 737s for deportations. They're going to spend $140 million to buy 6 planes from Boeing. U.S. Immigration Customs Enforcement, the arm at DHS that carries out deportation flights, has long relied on charter planes, but two officials familiar with the contract and records reviewed by the Washington Post indicate that they have broader plans. Earlier this year, Congress signed off on $170 billion for Trump's border immigration agenda over 4 years, and now they're buying planes.
All right, get them out.
I'm kind of wondering about this. So, I mean, weren't we using like cargo planes or something last time when we were?
Well, initially we're using C-17s and things like that, but now they're relying on charter flights. But Trump borders are. Tom Homan said the administration has made more than 579,000 removals. Now imagine how much that costs us paying for commercial flights. Stick 300 of them. No, we couldn't put 300. He put about 150 on a 737. Put 150 on them. Fly them 24 hours a day, and we'll empty out this place.
Yeah, eventually get to it. You know, and they're attacking the criminals first, basically the people with records, people that are, child molesters, people who are, trafficking people, drugs and things like that, murderers, thieves, and these are the people that are being targeted first. Why are people wanting to support them and say, "Oh, you can't do that. We need to stop ICE.
I think
we need these people out of our nation." Sorry,
that's their primary targets were the criminals.
Right.
But if they happen to catch a guy over here, it's like, "Oh yeah, you too. Come on, you're coming with us too." Even though he didn't commit any crimes, he was here illegal. Well, that crime.
Yeah.
Well, so apparently last month, Kristi Noem, she said ICE wanted to have her own planes. And the Wall Street Journal reported last month that she and her chief advisor, and now I know where Corey Lewandowski's at. He's working for Kristi Noem. They directed ICE officials to purchase 10 737s from Spirit Airlines. Of course, Spirit just recently went bankrupt for deportation flights. Of course, those would be already in service aircraft, so they wouldn't be full price. But Spirit Airlines doesn't even own them. They were leasing them, so they couldn't get the planes. And and the planes apparently don't have engines because they're mothballed. so that wouldn't have worked out very well. But in the meantime, now they're going to purchase 6, I'm guessing brand new from Boeing. Pretty wild stuff there. So deportation air is coming your way.
There you go. Yeah, I can't wait to see what the livery is going to look like. Deportation air or something like that. Little American.
Well, you can have a picture of people, in zip ties, on the plane lining up for the boarding the plane. That would be a nice logo for deportation air. Yeah, I'm excited about that. The more we can get rid of, the more we get out of here. Oh, but you're a xenophobe. Nope. I don't have a problem with Congolese and Afghans and South Africans coming here as long as they're vetted and certainly have a legitimate basis to live here. I mean, I had to follow the laws of the 16 countries I lived in.
Don't you love those social media posts? Is this really what you voted for? Yes, a million times. Yes, that's what I voted for.
Yep.
Yes, I did. I voted for this country to be the greatest it possibly can be, with people coming here taking advantage, committing crimes, amongst other things. It's not going to be as great as it can be. That's what I voted for. Make this country as great as you possibly can.
I'll tell you what I feel bad about. I feel bad for the fact that people like Biden, his administration, and people on the left opened the borders and invited people in. It's almost like invited them into a trap that now Trump has to clean this mess up. That's the part I feel bad about. It's almost like they set them up for this. But just the same, the law's got to be enforced. We can't have these people here unvetted illegally. People are staying when they were told they don't qualify for asylum.
Well, look, there's 2.4 million current asylum cases out there. 95 to 97% of them are frauds, and they're getting to live here in America. Many of them have work authorization documents now, and they can contribute. But here's the thing: illegal aliens cause many problems. I don't want to hear they're good people and they're just trying to have a better life. So what? Lots of people want a better life. Doesn't mean we can take 7 billion people into the confines of the United States. But the bottom line here with these guys is that they depress wages. Many work off the books and drive down wages and don't pay taxes. Oh, but they pay taxes. Yeah. Okay. Please spare me.
Right.
Yeah. Through consumption, while the rest of us pay our personal income taxes and all the other taxes.
Or they steal Social Security numbers, so they can work illegally. Right. They also bring pestilence in the country. Oh, but you're a bigot. No, it's true. The reason we have measles outbreaks in this country in Texas is because, imagine this, people who had not been inoculated for childhood diseases are pouring across the border and settling our communities and getting outbreaks in our schools and spreading it around. Now, if Americans don't get their kids vaccinated, then that's their fault for not protecting their kids. But we have another measles outbreak in this country. And once again, the odds are pretty strong. This is tied to illegal aliens who've been dumped in this country and travel around. So I don't care if people are good. If they want to come here, there's rules. We have an absorptive capacity. We cannot take in 1 million people a month. We cannot take in 12 million people in a year. We cannot take in 1.2 million. It's ridiculous. There has to be reasonable reasonable progress in this. And we're just not getting it because these leftists just want this country to be destroyed. They hate America. I don't know who raised them, what happened to them, why they hate America so much, but they're shameful people. But the good news is that there have been 1,701 deportation flights to 77 countries since January 1st through October 31st. That got rid of 579,000 people. Wow.
I think a part of the problem with people on the left, you say you don't know what's wrong with them. I think a lot of it, they can't win through the normal system. Like you and I, we compete, follow the laws, follow the rules. Whether we win or we lose, we still follow those. They can't win, just following the rules at all. So therefore, they want to break the rules or make new rules that benefit them. I think that's what they're looking for.
You're making
you can't win it. You can't win it at Monopoly. So you want to change the rules as you go. Basically, that's what I'm getting at.
You're making me think of that social media meme. Stop deporting our voters.
Yeah, right. Stop deporting our voters. Yeah, we can't win otherwise.
That explains their reason for fraudulent mail-in balloting desires and not showing ID. That explains it. What I'm saying, I don't understand, is that what made them so broken in the first place? Who abused them as children to think that it's okay for boys to play in girls' sports, that it's okay to discriminate against people because their skin color, which is what they want to do, want to discriminate against white males and others. They are broken toys is what they are.
Right,
it's like watching Toy Story and they're the little broken toy over in the corner that nobody wants to play with. And so they're just, screaming all the time. They're nasty people. And you can just see them. You ever see the behavior of these pink and purple haired lunatics from left who just start getting in the faces, screaming at soldiers who are standing out, on guard duty and stuff like that? They are sick individuals. The fact that they're Americans, to me, is quite embarrassing.
Yeah, absolutely. And these people, they're representing, what we are, because they're getting play on news and social media being seen around the world, when in reality, they don't represent them anywhere near the majority of Americans. But most people outside of the country think that they do because that's what they see on social media on the news.
Absolutely. But in addition to that conversation, back to the Guardsman situation, the Texas and California National Guardsmen that had been deployed to Chicago and Portland, Oregon are now returning home. Texas Governor Greg Abbott said that his state's National Guards who have been sent to Chicago have been told to return home, but that was in November. That was back in November. So these guys are coming back now. And so I think most of them are back already. So I just thought we should mention that again. But I was talking about the measles outbreak. We have one in South Carolina now, a measles outbreak, 84 cases in the past week nationwide. And South Carolina is the latest one. 250 people were subject to quarantine in South Carolina because of the measles outbreak. Now, I don't get this. I mean, I've been jabbed for MMR so many times. I think I've got scars on my left arm, because the Army just loves to jab you for something you already have lifelong protection against. It's just crazy.
Right. Yeah. I'll take a little bit more of some stuff here and there, but some of it, if it's experimental, I'm good. I'll wait.
You don't want the mRNA, Todd?
What's that?
No.
I said you don't want mRNA?
No. Also, don't want another one of those anthrax jabs, those things. Or I could do without another rabies jab. Just saying.
You got rabies jabs. Where were you? You got rabies?
Africa, wildlife. You got to have it. Yeah. So the rabies jab, you got to get 3 shots of it. It's this really like pink color vaccine, and it burns like acid when it goes in.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I'm gonna check. I don't think I ever got rabies shot. I don't think I.
Oh, you would remember. You would remember just from the color alone. It's like, is that pink lemonade? No. Ow!
I know it burns. That's what I heard. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's also has a global shortage. They never make enough of it. So it used to be you had to get it every 10 years. But then when I was due for another, like, oh no, it's every 12 years. Now it's every 15 years. Oh, only for people who've been bitten. Okay, I get it. You're not making enough. Yeah, so that's the situation. It's just not. It's not happening. So yeah, rabies. Oof. I mean, Todd and I know what it's like. You just become a pincushion for Uncle Sam.
Chris likes that burn.
What's that? I like the what?
You like that burn. I get it.
No, I don't like the burn.
Shot. You want that shot in the arm to feel it burn.
No. It's like the guy that says, how come it hurts when I pee? No, thank you. I'll pass. That might be because you're not familiar with the concept of a condom. I'm just saying. Anyway, but guys, in the next hour, we'll talk more about events breaking here. But let's go back to the Caribbean and the seizure of what appears to be now the Skipper, an oil tanker from Venezuela loaded with 1.1 million barrels of oil. I mean, it must be gallons, not barrels. I mean, think about that. That's a lot of oil. I mean, gosh, no wonder these super tankers are so big. But what an incredible operation there, John. I don't know. Did you see the video, or were you impressed if you saw it?
I did not. I think I heard you guys talking about it, and I think, man, I've got to go back and find this video now.
Yeah, just go to Pam Bondi during the break and look at Pam Bondi's X account, and you'll see the video there. Or you can just go watch my video on the YouTube. Give me a view there.
What did they say in anything? What were they exactly were looking for specifically? Or I mean,
No,
other than the fact that this ship was wanted, I guess.
No, it's sanctioned. That's all they've said
Or
so far. I
sanctioned,
mean,
sorry.
they said very little about it other than that. I'm sure more will come out tonight. Like I said, they were talking to Trump when this was announced, and then Pam Body's put the video out. So we'll see what else comes out of it. But exciting stuff, unless you're the skipper of the skipper.
Skipper the skipper. No, he's in handcuffs somewhere.
It's not good to be captain of that ship.
Yeah, he's not going down with that ship, but he's going into custody with that ship.
It
Yeah,
might
so
be better for him to go into custody. He's like, oh, finally out of that, man. It was a nightmare.
how would you like to be the bridge or watch officer on the aircraft carrier or the cruiser that comes up alongside that and says, okay, now I need you to pilot this ship to Miami, the oil tanker. So you go from commanding a cruiser with armaments on it to now you're in charge of an oil tanker, because he's not going to steer it to Miami. It's going to be, or Puerto Rico, wherever it's going to go.
Right.
But pretty amazing stuff here, guys. I mean, what do you think, Todd? Are we ratcheting up the pressure here? It sounds like it, but do you think we're imminent at a shooting war? I mean, a lot of people are freaking out about this.
Very possible. I don't know how close we would be, but I mean, how long would it last though? I mean, with Venezuela, I mean, I think their government would collapse pretty quick and they would run to the hills. Then where are we at that point?
Well, I hope we don't deploy troops to occupy Venezuela. That's the last thing.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I'm sitting there thinking we're deporting them back, and now we're going to give them a bunch of soldiers.
Hey, next thing you know, Venezuela's the 51st state. They crack some deal. Oh, Trump is a good man. No, I'm kidding.
No longer Canada. It's going to be
Venezuela's
Venezuela.
great. They're great now. They're the 51st state. We love them. Like all of a sudden.
Nah, I'll pass.
I thought it was going to be Canada. Before that, we thought it was going to be Greenland. Come on, who's it going to be now?
No, that's it, John. I said Greenland. It's great. It's lovely. It's frozen.
I'll take Greenland.
Lots of minerals. And there's Danish girls there. We'll take it. It's the biggest. It's the best. It's the most beautiful iceberg on the planet. The biggest ice shelf. We'll make it the 51st state with all 56,000 residents.
I'm not certain that they want to become the 51st state, the United States, but Alberta is taking a kind of serious looking at secession of Canada.
Well, that would be disastrous for Canada because then the country would be bifurcated. Cut it right in half.
Right. That is true. You know, maybe they take a sliver and put the highway right through. Be like, all right, we can still access the highway. That's it. You know,
we're getting feedback. We're getting feedback from our office saying that Todd does a good Donald Trump. That's true, but that's because Todd hung out with Donald Trump. He knows what he sounds like.
He has done Donald Trump in the past. It's been a while.
Yeah, well, he just did. He did a lot better than I did it. You know, I have to stand on my sexy haircut. That's the only thing keeping people's attention for me.
Donald Trump may be here next week, by the way. I'll break out my Donald Trump Halloween mask and I'll put it on.
Oh, I thought you meant the real one.
Okay. Yeah, I was like, yeah, let's do it.
That'd be all right.
Yeah, I'll take the mask. We'll take the artificial Donald Trump.
Yeah, the artificial. People on the radio are like, what are these guys doing? What kind of show is
just
this?
know before you put that mask on, that man's had a target on him. So,
well, I don't know about that. But before we get to the top of the hour, which is rapidly approaching, I will say, without disclosing, I'm on a road trip Friday for a rather important meeting, and I'll leave it at that. And we'll talk about it next week, what comes out of it. I'll just leave it at that.
Oh,
interesting.
Is this where we're supposed to start fishing and digging?
Well, we'll tell you this. I'm not headed to West Virginia. Okay.
Oh,
okay. You're somewhere around the Virginia, Maryland area, maybe a city that's
possibly.
Okay.
Whoops.
He pulls up a gavel.
My gavel.
He alludes to he's taking a trip and pulls up a gavel. I think he's dropping subtle hints.
No, I'm not going to court. No, I thought the gavel came off. I went like that. It was shaking. It was loose. I'm like, oh no, did I throw it behind myself? Anyway, yikes. But folks, we're glad you've joined us tonight for the Common Sense Conservatives every Wednesday night at WSMN. And we're happy to see you join us here each and every week at 1590 AM, 95.3 FM. We're coming up on the news at the top of the hour. In the next hour, we'll talk more about this seizure of the tanker, the skipper, and see how the skipper of the skipper is doing it this hour, if we can get an update. And we'll also talk about more judges who are activists and some of the other events taking place around the country. And, of course, the new senatorial candidate from Texas, Jazzy Crockett, because we all just love Jazzy. I don't know. We haven't heard yet whether we all want to date her. I mean, I suppose we all want – does that make us racist if we want to date her? Because, I mean, we're white. She's black. Anyway, stick with us the next hour, folks. More coming your way. Cheers.
WSMN 1590, WSMN 95.3 FM Nashua. Listen, watch, and stream at wsmn.live.
ABC News, I'm Dave Packer. President Trump says the U.S. has seized an oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela. ABC News contributor and national security and defense analyst Mick Mulroy.
It is a significant escalation, but this might be the start of a campaign. With all that naval power, the U.S. can certainly stop oil tankers from leaving Venezuela, which could completely cut off their ability to sell their own crude oil.
FBI Director Kash Patel says the boat has been used for an illicit shipping network supporting foreign terrorist organizations. Officials in Kentucky say 19-year-old Dejon Fox is the student who was killed on campus Tuesday. The suspect is Jacob Lee Bard, a parent of a student at KSU, facing murder charges for the shooting. Another victim remains hospitalized in intensive care. A federal judge in California pulling the plug on the Trump administration's deployment of National Guard troops in the state. The Fed cutting its key interest rate by 1/4 point today. This is ABC News. A Department of Interior auction for the first 30 oil leases in the Gulf of Mexico has drawn $279 million in interest. It's the first lease sale in the region since 2023. More Americans are foraging for mushrooms in the wild, and that's led to an increase in the number of emergency room visits.
Eat the wrong mushroom and you could die. Poison control specialists in California say that in the past month, 21 people around San Francisco have suffered amatoxin poisoning linked to certain types of wild mushrooms. One person has died. The culprit is the ominously named death cap mushroom, which looks like popular edible wild mushrooms, but can cause fatal liver failure.
ABC's Jim Ryan. 3 skiers from Russia, 6 from Belarus have been approved to compete in qualifying events for the 2026 Milan Cortina Winter Games as neutral athletes. Russia and Belarus have been banned from Olympic competition over the invasion of Ukraine in 2022. Neutral athletes must not have publicly supported the war. Dave Packer, ABC News.
What do you give the person who's always at their desk? X-Chair. This holiday, give next level comfort with X-Chair ergonomic seating. Dynamic variable lumbar support and SiFloat Infinite Recline has your back. X-Chair elevates work, gaming, projects with everyday comfort. During the X-Chair holiday sale, you can save up to 50% site-wide. Don't wait. These deals won't last. Visit xchair.com and save up to 50% today. That's xchair.com.
Now there's a new way to take charge of your blood sugar. Introducing New Garlic Healthy Blood Sugar Formula from the makers of the nation's best-selling garlic supplement. New Garlic helps maintain healthy blood sugar levels with clinically supported levels of garlic, plus a custom blend of vitamins and minerals, and it's odor-free. Take charge of your blood sugar with New Garlic Healthy Blood Sugar Formula. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Use as directed.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles.
The only thing we have to fear is one small step for man.
And the Boston Red Sox.
This is WSMN's Life for Today for December 10th. Happening on this day in 1817, Mississippi is admitted as a 20th state. And in 1898, the Treaty of Paris ends the Spanish-American War. Born on this day in 1830, poet Emily Dickinson. In 1964, chef Bobby Flay. Dying on this day in 1967, Otis Redding in a plane crash at 26. And in 2005, Richard Pryor. He was 65.
I'm picking up good vibrations. She's giving me the excitation.
And finally, on this day in 1966, Good Vibrations by the Beach Boys hits number 1. And that's WSMN's Life for Today for December 10th. I'm Phil Kincaid.
Hi, Nashua. I'm Perry Cataldo from Choice Benefit Services, your local insurance agent that has dedicated himself to all the Medicare plans in New Hampshire. Whether you're just turning 65, new to Medicare, or already have a plan, I'll explain all your Medicare options and extra benefits that you hear so much about. I ensure you're getting all you're entitled to and all that you deserve. Nashua, don't get fooled again this year. Call Perry Cataldo at 603-461-5550. That's 603-461-5550. Or visit me online at cbsnh.com. That's cbsnh.com. I look forward to hearing from you. And remember, health is wealth.
Continuing the legacy started in 1904, Roger Pellerin of Gate City Monument Incorporated continues to provide the same high-quality monument, custom headstone, and stoneworking craftsmanship today that they built their reputation on over 100 years ago, servicing Nashua, New Hampshire, as well as nearby areas in Massachusetts, such as Lowell, Billerica, Chelmsford, and beyond. From creating custom monuments to memorialize, to landscaping and granite work or restorative services, each job is done to your satisfaction and is backed by decades of experience and integrity. If you're thinking about stonework, think Roger Pellerin of Gate City Monument. Visit online at gatecitymonument.com. Stop by and meet Roger at 321 West Hollis Street in Nashua, or call 603-883-7141. That's 603-883-7141. Gate City Monument, memorials of distinction for people who care.
Gate City Monuments, memorials distinction for people who care. Always great to hear that as a lead into our second hour. Welcome back to the program, folks. This hour, John, Todd, and I will be talking about some of the things we covered in the first hour. But in addition to that, of course, the top stories this hour are as the U.S. government has seized a Venezuelan oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela. This is the skipper, and it has been taken into custody by the Coast Guard. It is a sanctioned tanker, and as we heard at the top of the hour, it was involved in illicit shipment of things, and that's why they went after it. The Federal Reserve has cut interest rate for the third time this year. Jerome Powell, who's on his way out and is not popular with Donald Trump, has in a vote 9-3 in a split Federal Reserve Board, they voted to lower the interest rate for the prime lending rate, taking it down to 3.5 to 3.75 range, which is good news for the housing market and for automobiles and should help spike the economy in the new year. The House has passed a $901 billion compromise defense policy bill, not the highest amount ever spent, but among the highest defense bills ever spent. And some people are calling for more scrutiny in the Defense Department, and I would agree with them. The Defense Department should always be subject to scrutiny, particularly when we're spending nearly $1 trillion a year on defense. Yep. Bipartisan lawmakers are meeting to seek a compromise on the Obama Unaffordable Care Act subsidies at this hour. And the U.S. is planning to ask tourists for 5 years of social media history. Whoops. I guess that Trump should die post that was posted on your Twitter account 4 years ago might be bad news if you want to go to vacation in Las Vegas. Just saying. Let's start off with that one, Todd. What do you think about the State Department reviewing people's social media history if they want to come to America? Any thoughts on that one?
Well, I mean, they're not American citizens, so they don't necessarily have the right to the First Amendment, right? So I wouldn't have that leg to stand on. I mean, how much are we going to scrutinize them here? I mean, is it just like, oh, America did this, whatever? But if it's stuff like America, and it's always incessant, we need to do this, we need to kill America, then I'm going to say, yeah, you can't come to America. I'm sorry. But if it's just like, oh, I disagree with President Trump on this, whatever. Americans disagree with President Trump on an issue. But if it's like, clearly, like there's something wrong with you, yeah, keep them out of the country.
John, your thoughts on this one?
Well, Todd brings up some good points, and you would want to, and sometimes, if you want to go to DC and talk to members of Congress, they might look you up on social media to scrutinize you.
So any good member of Congress has a staff member that will look you up.
It's not a bad idea as long as they know it's you. And what I mean by that, there are people who duplicate other people's social media, and if they're doing things to hold somebody in a negative light or something like that. So there is a concern. They do need to verify or validate or have a means to validate that that's the actual individual and not some charlatan out there.
So, guys, for me, this is a very slippery slope. As a free speech advocate and defender of the Constitution, the First Amendment, of course, we're all defenders of the Constitution. But for me, it's a very slippery slope. I don't have objections to reviewing the social media history because we're looking for extremists. We're looking for people who advocate for the violent overthrow of America. Yeah, and I think that's where Todd's going. But again, I think we all agree on this. I mean, if I'm a British national, I say Trump sucks or he should be impeached.
Whatever.
That's your free speech. You're welcome to that. But the problem is when we give this kind of power to government authorities, you got to be careful of abuse. I mean, look how the Biden regime abused the Patriot Act to spy on Americans. Look how they violated the FISA system, even to get warrants on Trump when he's coming in office under Obama. I mean, these authorities can't be trusted. And so I'm a little bit nervous from that standpoint, but I have no objection whatsoever with the government looking at people's social media history. I mean, look, I wouldn't want the British government to scrutinize my social media history because, I mean, I hate Keir Starmer, and it's pretty obvious from my social media comments. The guy's an evil person. And also, they don't want me to go to the UK because I've told about the grooming gangs that have, abused thousands of young English girls. Yeah, I told the truth.
But
they don't
whenever
like the
you
truth.
go
That's
there-
why Tommy Robinson's in prison.
But whenever you go there, it's for something like, say, a rugby again, a World Cup rugby event, as an example. You're not there to overthrow their government or create a terrorist attack or terrorist
but
cells.
you're talking about a government over there that is so woke, so far left there. That's incredible. Some English guy comes over here and discharges a firearm, puts it on social media, and spends the next year fighting for his freedom because they want to punish him for it because he was insensitive by putting a firearm. So that's stinking ridiculous.
That is my point. And a power like this in the hands of corrupt people can be used against good, honest people. Having a different opinion is different than calling for the death of someone or the overthrow or something.
Right.
Or, look, if I said the government of South Africa is racist, I can back that up. I have 145 race-based laws that discriminate against racial minorities. What else is that but racist? That shouldn't prevent me from going to that country. If I say that the United Kingdom is uneven in its treatment of people and it's bending over backwards when Muslims go on to the Church of England grounds and start kneeling and praying and insulting Christianity, but people can't protest when Muslims are dumped in their neighborhood and they don't like listening to Sharia from minarets or from buildings at 5 o'clock in the morning in a place that is not a Muslim country, and they're locked up in prison, or an 18-year-old young British man stands with a British flag on British soil outside a refugee center across the street, impeding nobody, harming nobody, saying nothing, and is sentenced to 12 months in prison.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a problem. This is a problem. So, I mean, that kind of power is pretty dangerous. And that's my concern. I don't trust people in this country running a government to actually adhere to the rule of law. We've seen the Federal Bureau of Incompetence, what it has done in the past, and the safeguards that were supposed to be there to protect your liberties and my liberties have fallen away. The safeguards are gone. All the things they accuse Trump of being a dictator, misusing the military, misusing the attorney general, that's exactly what they did when he was at office.
Mm-hmm. So basically, to your point, Chris, there is a very, very long list of government what's the word here? Indiscretions where they take in they've literally poisoned U.S. citizens with things to see how things will happen. The the Tuskegee experiment. We know about the MK Ultra. It's true.
LSD, right?
We know about Operation Mockingbird. These are just touching the surface. There was things that happened that people don't commonly know about, but it did happen and started.
Yeah, can I jump in on that real quick, John? You said MK Ultra. It's funny. People used to say MK Ultra. When I was a kid, people would say MK Ultra. People would laugh at it and say, "Oh, it's conspiracy theory." Ha ha ha. But now it's like, yeah, that's actually a fact. It happened. It was a real deal.
Yes.
They did poison people. They didn't know it. It was against their will. Whatever.
They
used to be laughed at. It used to
they
be
used
laughed at as a
experimental
conspiracy
drugs on prisoners and and people who did not volunteer for these tests, and they've mentally tortured people.
Well, then they give people syphilis during the Tuskegee.
They gave them syphilis. That's correct. Yeah. They also sterilized Native American women so they wouldn't have children in the 60s and 70s.
So to Chris's point, I mean, it's absolute. It's true. The government, I mean, even today, we've seen what happened in COVID. We lived it. For Christ's sake, if that didn't say it, we all lived that, just not, very recent past. And what the government was doing and set out to do was very nefarious.
And this is my problem with giving a government power like that, because it can be abused so easily. Look at how the Tea Party movement was destroyed, not because of a lack of fervor, not because it didn't have a cohesive viewpoint, although they'll say it was disparate groups, but they had pretty much a standard message. The reason Tea Party was destroyed is because of the government blocking it from tax-exempt status and also actively undermining, and then the Obama administration illegally spying on journalists who were covering the Tea Party. And so the journalists who were covering it accurately just backed off because they didn't want to be a victim of a tax, audit or a threat to their job or, a nasty message from the White House, which happened. And the Obama administration was one of the most corrupt administrations in the history of this country, even more corrupt than the Ulysses Grant second term until Joe Biden. That is the most corrupt organization in history. The administration, Jimmy Carter, wasn't corrupt. They were just inept. But this was pure corruption, evil corruption. Yeah. These people should all be in prison, every single one of them, without exception. and they're walking free on the street today, while many Americans' lives have been destroyed, including people who walked into the Capitol building on January 6th in the biggest setup in history. It's a setup.
Yes, it was.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
it was.
Yeah.
And it's funny as you talk about the January 6th, and I mentioned this before, people that were just remotely around Capitol Hill where a cell phone signal got picked up, they got, not to say swatted, but FBI agents visited their homes. I know people live just a few miles from me. The FBI visited them on several occasions. Well, why were you there? What was going on? What were you doing in there? I just walked up near the Capitol, and they showed them all their photos and videos, and they still got visited by the FBI at least 2 times.
Yeah, there's some people that didn't cross some barriers.
Nowhere
that went to
near-
jail
nowhere
because they
near,
got
you know,
attacked by
Capitol Hill.
cops and they defended themselves. Technically, the law enforcement was in the wrong because they attacked peaceful, law-abiding citizens. They had a right to defend themselves because they were wrongfully attacked. But they ended up going to jail for the Middletons. Come to mind for that. They didn't even cross the bicycle racks that were supposed to be barriers to prevent them from crossing. You know, the proverbial line, right? The little line that you're not supposed to cross. Let's put up bicycle racks. You know, that didn't make any sense.
Video.
No police tape or nothing. So there was times I worried
have
about
the
Chris
video.
because he was there, and I thought, man, I hope they don't come after Chris. But Chris was smart. He called me on the phone on his way home. He says, dude, I just seen false flags. I seen crap going down. I got out of there, man. There's nothing I can do to help anybody, so I'm just going to help myself.
Right. That's smart move. And
I don't think I said that last part of it. I don't think I said the last part of the sentence, but yes.
Yeah, no, he didn't say it like that.
Yeah.
I had lived a little. Absolutely.
Once they've engaged and took the bait, you can't stop them. You can't help them. It's like, you know, don't even get involved. Don't even get in the middle of the river because you could be a bit pushed downstream. I mean, get out of there. Smart move.
Somebody watching on television, I'm sitting there going, what are you doing? What are you doing? That's got to be a trap. Anybody with any kind of common sense knows you don't go jumping into the Capitol building just willy-nilly. I don't care.
Watching the videos from the inside of those guys retreating and leaving the doors just
The
unguarded and open.
problem, guys, is crowd dynamics, and the people responsible for security at the Capitol building, Nancy Pelosi and the Capitol Police, know crowd dynamics, and they knew this is what they wanted. They create a situation that would lead to this by people being excited and being overexcited, and then they blame Trump for it. It's nonsense. One of our viewers from South Africa has said Muslims are disrupting Christmas celebrations all over the world. What's so wrong about that is that these are not real Muslims, because the Quran, the most holy document for the faith, emphasizes that Jesus, while they don't see him as a son of God, he's a prophet representing God, and he's unique in creation. They also believe he was born of a virgin and a messenger from God. So why in the world would true Muslims interfere with the celebration of the birth of Christ? They're not real Muslims. They're fanatics. They are fanatics that hate Christians. And she's right about that.
Jihadist Muslims, they want to promote Islam throughout the globe and take over the globe with Islam, and that's what we're having a problem with. We're seeing that here in the United States. We've seen that in England. We've seen that in various countries, Germany, all throughout Europe, where their interest is, as you worded it, Chris, to colonize and promote Islam among countries. Islam and our U.S. Constitution does not mix. Sharia, I should say, Sharia law and our U.S. Constitution do not mix. You can't have two different types of law.
Incompatible. Yep. No way.
And there's recently the man on the street interviews. I think we've talked about it here before. Up in Minneapolis, you may have seen him talking about, what do you want, with the American law, Minnesota law, or Sharia law. And all these people are talking about, we want Sharia law. We prefer Sharia. I'm like, are you serious? And they probably never even been to, Somalia or anywhere like that. Most of them are born in America, and they're sitting there going to say that we want Sharia law. These people are fools, for crying out loud. But this is what they want. They're saying the loud part or the quiet part out loud now.
And this has been going on for years.
But the thing
they are emboldened.
Some of these people are also paid, right? Kind of acting out roles and stuff like that for the camera to try to promote that among other people. Kind of like this Antifa movement wanting to push communism on the United States. I mean, we're like basically early 1930s Germany right now, with all these different factions coming into our country and trying to modify or change what we've already established 250 years ago.
Well, this pattern has already been established by Muslims colonizing Western Europe and then getting citizenship and running for office and getting like near 100% turnout from Muslims who become citizens and basically overthrowing communities. I mean, look at London. It's been run by Sadiq Khan, a demented lunatic, fanaticist, Islamicist who claims he's not, but his stupidity has destroyed London. And now London is barely English at all in a country that is called England. Every major city in the United Kingdom, English are a minority. Places like Leicester, Luton, London, at least East London, Manchester, they're a minority in their own country, and they don't have any rights because the government is against them. And now we see lunatic leftist Islamic fanaticists, fascists taking over New York City and Mamdani. It's not a good look here, folks. And the difference is in America, we're not in England. We haven't been disarmed. We haven't been neutered like they were in Australia. Americans are only going to put up with so much of this, and finally people are waking up to it. Now, everything I just said is not a statement against Islam. Islam is a noble faith. People are welcome to practice Islam, but you're not welcome to bring perverted cultural ideals from your broken countries to this country and demand that we adhere to it. But the model is there. Look at the Tory party, which is supposedly a conservative party. Look at all the people from Africa and from the Middle East and who are Muslim, who are now in key positions in the British government. They even had an Indian prime minister. I know he's born in the UK, but the point is his parents weren't. So, and people are going to say, well, that's because it's a country of immigration. No, it's not. The point here is that this is a clear pattern, and it's happening here. Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib. The list goes on and on. These people who either immigrated here or are the offspring of people we let in our country, and they're stabbing us in the back, hating America, preaching hatred and despicable behavior. And frankly, people need to pay attention to this. They really do.
Or coming in here and starting a 501c3 organization that they were taught to do so by the Democrat Party, and keeping millions of dollars to enrich their own lives instead of affording it for what it is designated for, like feeding homeless people or hungry children or whatever it was. And we just seen that break wide open here recently.
Yeah, well, for any wealthy people in the crowd, folks, if there's any wealthy people in the crowd, it has debuted today, the U.S. government's official site, trumpcard.gov. The gold card is out. The Trump administration debuted a website today that opens up applications for the gold card, an expedited visa that the federal government plans to provide to people who pay at least $1 million. To apply for the card, people have to pay a non-refundable $15,000 processing fee. Ouch. After applicants are vetted and approved by the Department of Homeland Security, they will have to pay $1 million to receive U.S. residency in record time. A $1 million gift upon completion of the individual's vetting is evidence that the individual will substantially benefit the United States. The individual may also need to pay small additional fees to the U.S. Department of State. But I mean, after you paid $1 million, what's another $10,000 or $12,000?
Right. Yeah. If you're especially trying to get out of a country that's going down quickly, come here. We're going down slower. So,
and then he's got the corporate edition, doesn't he?
Yes, that's what I was getting at. The corporate gold card, you can sponsor employees. Firms pay $15,000 processing fee and $2 million for each employee approved for the card. Now that's going to be big for the tech industry, but the new program has been in the works for months. After previewing the gold card earlier this year, Trump signed executive order in September that officially created the program. He's framed it as a way for government to raise billions of dollars and prioritize the mission of immigrants who would affirmatively benefit the nation, including successful entrepreneurs, investors, businessmen, and women. I'm not really sure how women come into play there, but I'll take his word for it. But the platinum card is coming soon. Right now the plan is $5 million, but there's no guarantee it's going to stay at $5 million. It might be jacked up a little bit more. But the gold card is, you can go to the website and it's a picture of the Rocky Mountains, it looks like, with the clouds moving in the background, and everything's got kind of a gold twilight tinge to it.
I'm okay with this, by the way. I'm okay with it.
All right.
Wayne Campbell,
because
he's rushing to get his today.
If you wanted to come here and you wanted to truly be a part of this country, if you can pay and afford to pay for yourself while you're here, by all means, come and benefit this nation. By all means.
Well,
the plan. I think that's the payout. I take a little bit of exception with the idea. It's almost like selling the country. You know what I mean by having to pay.
We have to pay to process.
I know it's fascinating,
but it's not citizenship.
Right.
So when you talk about selling the country, John, it's not citizenship, it's just residency.
And we have to, taxpayers have to already pay to investigate these people anyway. So basically they're helping us with those fees. I think so in a lot of ways.
Yeah. So I guess, fast laning is, like the going to Disney World, and you get to pay an extra fee. So you have to go ahead of the line, right?
He equates it to Disney. I love it. See,
hey, John, the corporate mindset. I mean, come on. We hired a businessman to run the country.
There you go. And now John's on board. You love that. He had to put it in business.
No, I just don't know how I feel about necessarily, because he referred to it one time, said it's fast laning, or, it's like kind of like, stepping ahead. But, just the same, you're right. As far as getting people of a better mindset, people that understand business or can help grow this economy. And that's what this country needs. We've talked about this in the past. I think, Chris, you might have been gone when we were talking about it, but we're $38 trillion into debt. We're on a fast track to collapsing our own country. we're dying as a nation this way. If we don't get a turnaround and get where we can manage this debt crisis and get ourselves where we're paying off our debt, get on the right side of it, we're going to keep inflating the dollar. People are going to, homelessness is projected to increase, not decrease in the future if we don't get a turnaround on this. There's a lot of things that this is going to benefit our country from.
Well, there's a number of things that need to be done. Number one, this quantitative easing nonsense is over, but the amount of money in circulation needs to be reduced to make the dollar worth more. And that's a policy that should take place as debt is paid off to the Federal Reserve for the money they loan to the government. As that's paid off, that money should be taken out of circulation, just wiped out. And that will reduce the amount of the money supply, M3 money supply, which will mean that we actually, or the M1, if you had backwards, the M1, whatever, but the money supply, that will reduce the amount of money that's out there on the table and make the currency worth more. We need to address the debt. Trump claims that the tariff money is going to help address the debt. I don't think it's going to make a major dent, but anything is productive. But the $20 trillion of investment that Trump has managed to secure for America in just 10 months, imagine what he's going to do after 4 years of investment in this country. But $20 trillion investment in factories and upgrading and building factories and creating jobs is going to have an exponential payoff for this country down the road, especially as we keep high-tech jobs here, automotive jobs here, which are high-paying jobs and require skills. That is going to make a major difference in this. The unemployment rate, they're projecting will go to 4.4% next year from 4.1% this year. I don't know how true that's going to be. I don't think we're going to see short-term payment. They're talking about now that the Fed has lowered the rate again, the third time, that will have a massive impact on the housing market and also on car sales. If they can lower it one more time to a reasonable rate, that's, and I'm speaking against my own interest here. I have money in savings accounts and, and bonds and bills, and I'm going to make less money off that. But you know what? I'd much rather see the country get healthy than me get wealthy. Wait a second. Don't I want to get wealthy?
Yeah, but the wealth you have, if the country gets better, inflation will eventually go down. I think you were going with that. So
yep, that's it. The stronger the country, the better the long-term prospects for investors. And I'm an investor.
Yep.
So if the country is on a sound financial footing and we're producing things and exporting them and we're getting a fair deal abroad and we're treating people from abroad fairly, then you'll have consumer choice. I can buy what I want. If I want to buy a Mercedes made in Germany, I can do that. And if I want to buy a Chrysler made in Detroit, I can do that. And I can afford it because the tariffs aren't there as we lower the tariffs after we reach reciprocity and fairness. So it'll be a win-win for consumers. It's a win-win for U.S. manufacturing and for the U.S. economy. And look, I mean, no matter you like Trump or not, an objective observer will look at 2025 and say, unbelievable what this guy's accomplished. The big, beautiful bill, never going to get done. July 4th, signed. The United States now poised for an epic 250th anniversary, by a sesquibicentennial. I don't know what you call this because it's 250.
Sesquicentennial or whatever.
Semi-quincentennial.
Yeah,
it sounds like an unpronounceable word, some kind of unpronounceable word.
No, that's what it is. Semi-quincentennial. Quint meaning 500 years.
Oh, so it's half of 500.
Colonel went to college. He knows words. All right.
I went to lots of colleges.
I'm usually the guy lost in words. Let me help the man out.
I'm kidding.
All right.
All I know is I got my 250 caps, and my ball caps for 250 already. But no, we're going into the 250th anniversary. We got a FIFA World Cup coming here. By the way, they're all pissed off that Trump got the Peace Prize from FIFA. I love it. Trump gets the inaugural Peace Prize. He doesn't get the Nobel Peace Prize. But Trump's peace deals are falling apart. In which I expected. I said the one in the Congo probably won't stand. They're already attacking each other. And also the one in in Thailand, they also started some nonsense too. But I mean, I don't think that's a measure of Trump's effectiveness. The measure of Trump's effectiveness, he got him to the table and to talk and to reach a deal. Whether they break or not, we don't have a force of 500,000 troops in these countries ensuring Gaza is still pretty quiet. He negotiated that one,
Trump did make some bold claims when he was running for office. One of them, which he was going to put an end to the Russia-Ukraine conflict
in one day.
That one kind of blew up on him. He's made a great effort. You got to give him an A for effort.
Absolutely, he's got some concessions. Or
the thing about it is, you can't go to highly volatile areas and expect these people to just say, "Oh yeah, you're right. We're in the wrong. Let's just make nice now." It's just not going to happen. Like you brought up the Congo. A lot of places in Africa have been very volatile, and you're not going to change these people's minds.
Well, you're not going to change it overnight, even with a peace deal. I mean, that's a conflict that's 30 years old in the Congo. And in Ukraine, the bottom line with this one is that you're dealing with two dishonest actors, Volodymyr Zelensky, the grifter in chief, and Vladimir Putin, the fascist in chief. Neither one of them is an honest actor. The only way you can get an end to this war is for somebody to go in with a special forces team or Spetsnaz team and take both of them out, or kidnap them and drop them in Antarctica. Or better yet, you go to Svalbard. They have a seed place up there where they got seed storage to save all the plants around the world, and you can just stick them in that seed, and put them down there in get cryogenic storage and save them for the future when they can give them a lobotomy that teach them to behave like adults. But Trump, it was silly. I could end this in day one. Nobody believed that, but the Democrats tried to paint him with that. I never believed it. And I thought that was the most intractable of the conflicts, because Russia's not going to give up Crimea. They're not going to give up the Donbass. And we find out, as I suspect all along, that Zelensky and his criminals have been filtering and pilfering billions of dollars in our systems.
Oh, absolutely.
And there's not enough Ukrainian men and not enough Ukrainian men and women that they can have killed on their behalf so they can live the high life. It's really sick, quite twisted.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's the thing: after it's all said and done, I bet Volodymyr Zelensky is going to flee his country at some point with billions of dollars in tow, going somewhere. I don't know where.
He was recently talking about open up elections again, so maybe he's willing to do just that. Open it up, let somebody else take care of the mess, and
he needs to have elections and open up that country, make a deal, and hope that people don't realize, hey, you fleeced the heck out of us. Now we're going to come after you, and the courts should deal with you. He'll probably flee the country at some point.
Well, doesn't he own land or property here in the United States? Something about property in Florida or something?
No, do not let him in this country. No,
I have not. I have not
like
seen
the Shah of Iran. We didn't let him in. We let him in for cancer surgery. That was it, right?
Right. I have not yet seen any proof or evidence that he owns property here in the United States, but I've seen a lot of talk about it. So we'll leave that at that, I guess.
Well, someone probably owns something that he could try to use, but you're not going to sneak in our country and hide out here. I'm sorry.
You can do so in jail.
Not right, yeah.
Yeah, we got plenty of jail seats for
people. Did
Noriega
find himself there?
He did.
Yes, he did.
These people want to talk about Trump, and we remember that we were talking about that last week, Chris. About I said unprecedented. You said no, but Noriega is a good example of that. Then we kind of like just go snatch him up and say, no, you're coming with us for the same.
But Noriega had
the same accusation.
Noriega had criminal charges.
Yeah, he held it. He was in the Rome or the Vatican embassy trying to hide out there, and we blasted all sorts of music like Panama and Van Halen and all that stuff. Remember?
Yes, I remember. Cause. Yeah, and that was a well-named Operation Just Cause. Yeah,
absolutely.
Phoenix says he can go to Europe. I don't think.
A friend of mine, not a friend of mine, but he was a cadre during at SFAS. And in his office there in the CHU, and he had a picture of him on the C-130 right beside Manuel Noriega. He's like, "Yep, I rode with him all the way back to the U.S." By the way, I'm like, "That's cool." Anyway,
didn't blink all the way, did he?
But no, he was one of the guys who put the cuffs on him and walked him out. He's like, "I flew with him back to the U.S." He's like, "Plus, I got a flight back to the States quicker anyway."
Yeah, he got home a lot quicker than we would have otherwise.
Quicker back to Fort Bragg.
Folks, you're listening to the Common Sense Conservatives on WSMN 1590 on the AM dial, 95.3 on the FM dial, serving the greater Merrimack Valley in New Hampshire and points beyond from a terrestrial broadcast. And you can catch us on the internet, on Facebook, on YouTube, and other places around. I think that's the main coverage of it. But every Wednesday night from 7 to 9 p.m., the Common Sense Conservatives with my co-host Todd McKinley out of East Tennessee and John Grosvenor up there in our studio in Nashua, New Hampshire, broadcasting around the world with a global audience. And we appreciate you joining us. That's pretty impressive for a little AM station there in New Hampshire. The whole world listening to us.
That's
kind of cool. It is kind of cool. But we're talking about what's that?
That's the power of the internet.
It is. There's also there's good and there's bad in the internet, but this is the good part. You get to listen to Common Sense Conservatives and hear our views. Of course, we bring different perspectives to this. Todd and I both served in the U.S. Army and served for many, many years. Between the two of us, we have well over half a century of uniform service. John has been in the trucking industry for decades, and all of us bring our own perspective. But each of us is a diehard rock rib conservative, believes in small government and the liberties that are guaranteed under our Bill of Rights, which is apparently a problem for many people in our country. But you know what? We are in the ascendancy and they are not. And when we're not in the ascendancy, we still speak our minds. Don't we, John?
That's right.
Oh, yeah. But as you were saying that, I was thinking about Rand Paul. I've seen a lot of people attacking Rand Paul lately. And I've always thought Rand Paul was stand up, knows his business in and out, and has done an excellent job as, I guess he's a little bit more libertarian leaning than he is. He's still conservative.
Yeah, the problem with Rand Paul is he's espoused a lot of libertarian views, which go a little too far for some conservatives and certainly for a lot of Republicans. And I'm saying I have a problem with that. I'm saying that's the problem from the standpoint of people taking issue. Also, he has been a vote against, reopening the government for a while there, and then that kind of torqued a few people off.
It did.
So I think that's a problem for him, but it's not a big deal.
I think the thing of it is they're saying he's being like a leftist. I'm like, no, he's very, very
No,
consistent.
not a leftist at all.
Rand is the guy who will
nowhere near.
read the bills before he will vote on it. Like his father, Ron Paul, used to say, "Why do I vote down bills? Because I actually read the bills."
Yeah. There wasn't a constituent asked him a question. Why do you not vote for these bills? He's like, because I read them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, I can understand where he's coming from. A lot of people are like Rand. What kind of name is that? It's short for Randall.
Well, named after what Ayn Rand, right?
No, it's short for Randall.
But
I do not know the answer on this.
But his nickname comes from Ayn Rand, though, right? I believe.
Maybe, I don't know, but I just know that his name
right.
is Randall. So that's, who names their kid Rand? They're like the South African gold miners on the
Well, yeah,
Rand?
Ayn Rand, I believe that's where that kind of came from, I believe.
Which would make sense, but his first name, his proper given name is Randall. So, yeah, and his father from Texas. Ian Rand. That's another. But
I mispronounce it every time.
Randall Howard, Paul.
Yes, that's what I said.
I never gave it any thought. I just went with it. Rand sounds fine to me.
John, you pretend like you're his best friend. How dare you?
John, I give lots of things thought, so I've thought about that. Anyway, so guys, it's shaping up to be a very interesting Christmas here. Are we going to have troops on the ground in Venezuela? I mean, certainly a lot of people are talking about that. I'm not convinced that's going to happen, but certainly, John, any thoughts that you think is it going to be a hot and humid Christmas for our troops in Venezuela?
I don't think it'd be that soon, but I think Trump is more trying to influence the election in Venezuela and get the people to move against
that's a possibility.
I forget Maduro. Move against Maduro.
Just remember cigar
to get somebody installed. And I think what he's trying to do is we have God, I wish I can remember his name now, from Argentina. He's very, very much aligned with Trump. And what I think he wants to do is get our neighbors to the southern continent to get more aligned with the United States and get rid of the communist regimes down there, get some more democratic mindset, and get things aligned over here in the United States. I think that's his objective.
Well, that seems like a reasonable approach. We'll see if it pays off. But so what we were talking about earlier, we didn't really go into much depth in it. For the first time in 3 decades plus, a non-Latin mayor of the city of Miami, a town of over 500,000 people, is now coming in office. Democrat, former state official and counselor, I think, also in Miami. She has won the election in a runaway. She got 60% of the vote in the special election. The Democrats had a massive turnout, and now the media are trying to proclaim that Miami-Dade County has swung away from Trump. But now Miami-Dade County is a Democratic stronghold. To be fair, this is a big win. It is a huge win.
Right.
The sitting mayor is a Republican and a Cuban American. But he was term limited, so he was leaving. And the guy that ran against her didn't run a particularly good campaign, so they won. The Democrats now and the media are loving this, this huge win on Election Day in November when the Democrats surprisingly won Virginia, surprisingly won New Jersey, surprisingly won New York. I'm like, surprise? What are you talking about surprise? Surprise to me is they didn't win 70-30. That would that's these are strongholds.
The surprise
for
should be that it was that close. That should be
especially in New Jersey, exactly. But it wasn't really close in Virginia because Democrats are racist. They would never be able to vote for a black woman.
That's true. That's true.
Don't you love how I do that? Don't you?
Like veterans too, because she was a veteran as well.
Oh yeah, she's Marine. Yeah. Don't you love how I turned that on them? Because if it was a Democratic black woman, the Republicans are racist. They can't vote. But look at that. The Democrats can't be bothered to vote for a black woman, and so that's the bottom line.
But now the Virginia governor-elect, though, she's from your Intel community. What are your thoughts about some of these people from the Intel community that are elected as Democrats? Is it CIA have a lot of Dems over there? What's going on?
Oh yes, there's a lot of Democrats working at CIA. Oh, yeah. I know. I spent a lot of time in that building at Langley.
I thought so.
Absolutely. In fact, I think it played a role when I did my first President's Day brief, and I went to. I think I've told this story before. At that time, the PDB process had just been opened up to the other intelligence agencies, as per the Whitewash Commission, the 9/11 Commission, which was just bogus.
Yeah, it used to just be a CIA briefer essentially. That was
correct. It was the only agency that briefed the president up until 9/11 for decades since Lyndon Johnson created the presidential data brief was the CIA. So it was their puppy. So their
Right.
feelings were bruised mightily when this commission said, well, other agencies, and Bush said, okay. So the Defense Intelligence Agency wanted to get in on this. They wanted, be part of briefing the president, understandably so, because they have intelligence assets all over the world as well. So there were a couple of presidential data briefs from DIA, and they went through reluctantly. But I did one, and I talked about something in Africa, and the CIA fought me tooth and nail in this. They had a big voice in the committee, a bigger voice than usual. They don't have as large a voice now, in which they decided, well, this will go to the president, that will not go to the president. This isn't good enough. This meets the standard. This doesn't. And so eventually, after fighting to get my intelligence report, which is just a page and a half, fighting to get this report before the president of the United States for over 2 months, almost 3 months. The problem is that the information soon would no longer be of any value. That means the president couldn't take any action to affect change, but there was still a window of about a week, and he could still make something happen. So I went over to the CIA headquarters along with a GS-13 who was, half my age. I was a major. And we went over to there because he's a previously published author for the Defense Intelligence Agency. We walked into a room and we were just sandbags. There were 5 general officer equivalent senior executive service CIA people present.
Mm-hmm.
There were 17 people in the room from the CIA and 2 of us.
Oh, yeah.
And they tried to browbeat me and tell me that I was a major, so a junior field grade officer. And they tried to say that, well, this is our responsibility. We should be writing it. To which my response was, well, I wouldn't disagree, but my question is, where's your report? I've been waiting 3 months for your report.
I have
wrote
mine
this.
right here.
Yeah, here's mine. What's your problem? Well, how does this affect the military? I said, well, it affects the military because if somebody doesn't do anything, people are going to be screaming about a famine. And, we don't have time for this. We're busy in Iraq, in Afghanistan, in the Philippines, in Colombia. We don't have the resources. So people will die because no one took action. Action can be taken now, and the president needs to know that. And son of a gun, they walked out of. The ironic thing is that the analyst at CIA, the intelligence analyst who covered the region that I was covering, hung around the room afterwards and apologized. They said, "Look, we're sorry that that
Nice.
you had to come over here, but we've been interested in working with you with the DIA a little bit closer." I said, "That's funny because I've been interested in working with you guys, but I didn't know anybody over here. So let's exchange numbers." And what grew out of that meeting was the first ever. Now, this won't even get me a cup of coffee in the intelligence committee, but the first ever interagency, 2 U.S. intelligence agencies collaboration on a presidential data brief that went to the President of the United States. I was the person who proposed it. We worked on it together, and it went before the President of the United States about Zimbabwe. And apparently, it was one of the reasons why Dick Cheney had another heart attack.
Right. Well, I used to, whenever I was on duty, occasionally would deliver the PDB or other reports to the vice president. He'd go, "Well, what's in it?" I'm like, "Sir, it's that thick. I didn't read it."
Yeah. No, but the briefers, that's their, we go to Langley and brief the briefer because you don't actually, the only people that actually brief the briefer are the ones who are regular
Right.
people.
Yeah. One guy goes in. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, you can be an author, but you're not sitting in the White House, the Oval Office briefing president. That's a team dedicated for that.
Yeah.
2 people that rotate. But it was quite an experience. And the CIA would try to browbeat me. So look, I mean, I spent a lot of time over at CIA after that because I coordinated with them on different products we worked on. Also, I briefed them. They briefed me about developments, political military events. And yeah, there are a lot of people who work for the Central Defense Intelligence Agency that are not conservatives. In fact, I would say they're a minority of people, but that doesn't mean they're bad people. But your question was, what about these Democrats that work in the intelligence community?
Right.
Well, those who are running for office, whether Democrats or Republicans, most of them to me are just self-aggrandizing. Very few of these people are doing it because they're true patriots. That doesn't mean they're not patriots, but what I'm saying is they're not doing it because they are patriots. I ran for office last year, wasted my money, and I'm sure you ran for the same reason because I'm a patriot and I was concerned about the same reason I ran to be judge of elections because I didn't trust the process because of the way it was abused. And so it restored a degree of trust in me because I know exactly how it's done now. But my point is that I ran for office not for self-aggrandizement, not for self-enrichment or craving political power, but because I thought this Republic is in jeopardy. And if I sit around and watch it fall apart, then I'm guilty of not participating. So I ran for office at great personal expense. And also, as it turns out now, great damage to my hip, which now needs to be replaced. That's an Army industry, but I exacerbated by walking and knocking on 3,000 doors in 6 weeks.
Ooh, baby.
That's a lot of walking. So my point is I did as a patriot. I don't think most of these people that are coming from intelligence community are doing these patriots. Just like I don't think most of the Democrats who are veterans are actually veterans who care about this country. Tammy Duckworth, I'm not buying that for a second. Also, I'm very skeptical of Tulsi Gabbard. I know she's in this administration, but I'm still skeptical of her.
I think from a personal standpoint on her, I think she's going to hitch her wagon to whoever she thinks is going to get her where she wants to go. That's my thoughts on her. I could be wrong, but I've not seen that.
Well, I mean, that's the same sort of approach I have. I think that she is not that she's not an honorably serving veteran, but she's used her military service to her advantage, and that's her focus. But I mean, look, people do that; it happens. But was it Kitzinger? Isn't he a veteran from Illinois?
Right.
That lunatic.
Right.
Oh my goodness, that guy's a piece of work. So listen, guys, let me get away from politics for just a second and talk about a very interesting development. Look, I don't follow the NFL anymore, but I am a Colts fan and I do pay attention, read the news and pay attention. But the Colts start out very promising at a record pace of offense, the fastest scoring team, the most points, the most successful in, avoiding third downs. They were incredible. And then they ran into a buzzsaw. A lot of people said it's because they had inferior competition, but the bottom line is that they weren't expected to do anything. They were 8 wins and 2 losses, 10 games in the season. Now they've lost 3 games in a row. Their season's in jeopardy. They were called a Super Bowl contender just a month ago. Now people are like, well, they even make the playoffs because they're actually out of the playoffs at the moment. Daniel Jones, the former New York Giants quarterback, everyone said was washed out, had been brilliant through the first 10 games. But we found out that he had a fracture, and now he's out because he has a torn Achilles. The season's over. So that would explain why his performance has been reduced the past few games. Now, their backup quarterback, rookie Justin Leonard, has got a knee problem, and he may not be able to play. Their big wasted draft pick on Anthony Richardson has an orbital bone fracture, and he's out for the season. So what do? The Colts have turned to 44-year-old grandfather. Yeah, he's a grandfather. Phillip Rivers, who had 1 season with the Colts. And the reason he played for the Colts that year is because Shane Steichen had come over to the Colts. And that he's been in touch with him. He was his quarterback coach when he was at San Diego Chargers for 17 seasons.
I remember seeing him play down there.
44-year-old Phillip Rivers, who hasn't played football in the NFL in 5 years, who was a high school football coach coaching his son's team, but running the exact same offense that the Colts were running this season. And he's been calling Steichen throughout the season to touch base with him about, ideas. So he knows the offense. Does he have the physical ability is a question. He looks like a fit guy. He's a father of 10, so we know he's got some stamina. In more ways than one. But in more ways than one, without getting graphic. I love it. But Phillip Rivers has been signed to a contract on the practice squad. He had a 15-minute press conference. The guy's full of energy. He's brought life back. Suddenly, the Colts have gone from being, an also-ran to many people around the country. It's their darling. People are excited for the Colts bringing Phillip Rivers back. I hope he gets into the game this Sunday, and I'm going to be paying attention to see if he gets in. Now, he may fail miserably. And you know what? If he does, so what? The Colts at least took the effort by signing him because there are no other quality quarterbacks available.
Right.
But if he manages to take the Colts to the playoffs, that in itself is an epic comeback story. If they advance to the playoffs, that's an unbelievable comeback story. If the Colts, gosh forbid, win the Super Bowl, this will be the most amazing NFL story in the past 20 years if that happens. I don't think it's going to happen, but wouldn't that be something else?
But you got to think, you're not asking him to take the team from week 1 all the way through week 16. You're saying, hey, get us from here to the end of the season. That's basically what you're asking. He may have enough in the tank to be able to do that, especially if you protect him. He may have enough left to do that.
Oh, and I agree. And the Colts offensive line early in the season was the best in the league. Only allowed 4 sacks for like 8 games. They've been giving up some recently because they had injuries. But if the Colts can protect him, Phillip Rivers can get it done. I don't know what his arm strength is 40 yards downfield, but he doesn't have to have arm strength. He just needs to have that 10 to 15 or 25-yard arm strength because he's got an incredible core of receivers. I mean, they're just amazing, the receivers he has available, including the rookie Tyler Warren from Penn State, who's the most amazing draft pick this year at tight end. And then he's got Alec Pierce, who's a hell of a pickup from Cincinnati a few years ago. And he's also got Michael Pittman Jr. They've got an incredible receiving core for the Colts. And so now one of the viewers said they feel sorry for his wife having 10 children. I don't, I mean, there's a time proven aspect of this. If you don't want to have more kids, sorry, honey, I've got a headache tonight. If she didn't have a headache, that's her fault, not mine.
Right. Well, it kind of reminds me of I don't know if you remember baseball, Ty Cobb, who was a 366 lifetime batting average. And he was asked in his old age, this was probably just a few years before he died. He's like, if you were playing today, how well do you think you would fare? He died at 74. And he goes, I'd probably hit about 275. He go, why so low? He's like, I'm 70 years old. He's like, that's why I would, So this guy may have enough in the tank. Who knows?
Well, I mean, didn't George Blanda play as a kicker and a backup quarterback into his 50s?
He did. Yeah. Very old.
Yeah. And that was a different era when people didn't pass too much. And that's why I was able to do it. But
whenever they were smash mouthing back in the day, hitting each other on a reg, right?
And the helmets weren't nearly as advanced as they are today. No, but I mean, Go ahead, John.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think Brady went up into his 40s, and he held
did.
pretty strong till the end. So
Well, yeah, but he didn't have a break in service, and this is the
Right.
question
And
that comes
plus
into play here.
Brady's daily training regimen was just unbelievable to keep his body just to a standard where he could be on the field. I mean,
Hey, I was just aligning
unbelievable.
this with you guys, and I was thinking maybe this guy could really pull it off if he's been
Oh, I
training
think he can.
before
I
coming
think
into
he
this
can.
game. If he's been
I
trained,
think he
and
can
he
do
might
it.
have been keeping up with his training as far as physical exercise and stuff.
I think he can because he came into. I think Frank Reich was still the coach of the Colts, so it wasn't the Shane Steichen system that's in there now. But in a system he came into in his final year, at 17th year, he threw for over 4,000 yards, 24 touchdowns, and just 11 interceptions, and took the Colts from an also ran that did make the playoffs to an 11-5 team that went to the playoffs that year. So I mean, it's that's what he did at 39 in a new system, in a system that he understands. This is like Peyton Manning after his double neck surgery to fuse the bones in his neck after that cheap shot in the Bounty Gate that damaged his career and shortened it. He went to Denver with arm strength that they were convinced he couldn't even throw the ball 20 yards. And while his arm strength wasn't what it was when he was with the Colts, he was better as a quarterback with the Denver Broncos in those seasons.
Right.
Over 50 touchdowns a couple of times, 55 touchdowns one
two
season.
Super Bowls,
Two Super
one
Bowls,
victory.
and almost and in the other one they should have won, but the
Right.
defense of the Broncos was
agree.
terrible that year. But the first snap of the game was over his head. They were destined to lose that. But almost 6,000 yards in one season he had, and after he'd had his neck fused in two vertebrae in two places. Imagine if he had been with the Denver Broncos at that altitude in his prime before an injury instead of at the Colts. He probably would have thrown for 7,500 yards. My point is that despite those injuries, Peyton Manning, because of his quarterback knowledge and his understanding of the game and his endless practice with those receivers, turning Demaryius Thomas and others into amazing players. Imagine Phillip Rivers could do the same, even if he doesn't have the same arm strength, because he knows the game, he knows this system, and I'm kind of excited for the Colts, even though they're on the bubble right now.
What you're getting at here is about strategy.
Peyton Manning reminds me of kind of like Larry Bird in the NBA. He's not the fastest, can't jump the highest, whatever, but he's so smart. He knows what you're about to do, so he's going to make a move to get around you. That's what Peyton Manning would do. There was an interview, I forget what linebacker. He had a beeline on Peyton Manning. He's like, I'm going to take him out right now. And all he did is Peyton Manning just did a look back, stepped up, fired. He's like, I missed him by a mile, and he just took 2 steps basically. He's like, I had him dead to rights. I was going to take him out. He took 2 little steps because he knew where I was at. And he's like, I didn't even see him look back. But Peyton did like a quick little look back, boom, 2 steps done. And that's how smart the guy was.
So, I mean, people have to remember that, football, a lot of times the plays are on timing. The interception that the New Orleans Saints made on the pass to Reggie Wayne was not Peyton Manning's fault in the Super Bowl. And they would have won that Super Bowl if that hadn't happened. But what happened is Reggie Wayne went out to his spot. Peyton had already released the ball. He turned and he sat there instead of going to the ball. And then the defensive back saw it and he intercepted the ball. Reggie Wayne just stood there. So my point there is that a lot of this is timing, and these routes the Colts are running are based on timing, and Rivers is familiar with that. So he could, in theory, step right into this and do a bang up job. But go back to Tom Brady. Tom Brady was a incredibly physically talented quarterback. And he was not a good quarterback when he came in the league, but he had an incredible defense. To be fair, if he'd had the kind of receivers that Manning had, his numbers would have been even more amazing. But for the first 5 or 6 seasons, he was not a complete quarterback in my mind. He was an adequate quarterback that had incredible defense around him, and he didn't have a very good receiving core, and he did okay. It was only after he'd had so much success that he began to become a student of the game and became much more prolific and proficient. And he could do what Peyton could do later in his career. He could take an average team and get something out of him just based on his knowledge of the game. And in the end, he was a hell of a quarterback. But again, he's not the greatest quarterback in history. Even though he won 7 Super Bowls, he won 4 of those with the defense. It wasn't the offense. And I think that that Peyton Manning was the best quarterback in the NFL. Of course, I'm biased, but when you're right, it's okay to be biased.
but brother Eli beat him twice in heads up competition though, right?
Yeah, but what does that matter? Because they always talk about the Brady Manning and how Brady had Peyton's number, but that's not true. In the playoffs, Manning has a better record in the playoffs against Brady than the other way around. People never even notice that. He's got a winning record against him, but they just don't pay attention to that.
Yeah.
The problem with the Colts is their defense was so terrible for so long, and it cost them so many times the playoffs. And of course, that first time they played the playoffs and New England won, and New England 3, of course, that was the night that that the defensive backs for the New England Patriots sexually molested every Colts receiver and tackled them before they even got downfield, and not a single interference play called. It was just, you watch the video. I mean, it was unbelievable what happened in that game. That's why the Colts lost that game. If your receivers go out every time and they're tackled less than 5 yards or 10 yards downfield, and then you throw the ball to the spot they're supposed to be, it's intercepted, that's not Manning's fault. That's the officials for not calling the flag. I was screaming at the screen that night. I was so mad watching that game. But anyway, I got my just revenge when the Colts played them in the Hoosier Dome there in the playoffs and went to the Super Bowl where they beat Chicago. In that game, the Colts were down 21-3 at halftime, and they came back and won that game. That was the most. I was in Morocco that night at the Marine House. I'll never forget that.
That's cool. Now, what did you think about University of Indiana beating Ohio State this weekend for Big Ten championship?
Indiana won. Wow, I don't really follow college football that much anymore. I mean, Penn State sucks this year. I know that much.
But I think it was a kicker missed, for Ohio State missed a simple, what would have been an extra point distance. Just botched it, kicked it to the left. It would have tied the game.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's good to Indiana. It's good to see them. See, the last time I paid attention to Indiana college football is when Jack Trudeau was a quarterback there in the 1980s.
All right. Yeah. So they get the first round bye in the college playoffs out of 12 teams. They're advanced to the second round. So it's good.
Yeah, I'm still not sold on this college playoff stuff, but we got a couple comments in chat here. One from South Africa, the town of Centurion, which is located between Pretoria and Johannesburg, said while he's watching the program, someone just tried to break in his house. Welcome to South Africa.
Wow. Well, hopefully you have something to defend yourself there.
And then we have a comment from Holden, who's another one of my viewers, says, sad Americans know more about sports statistics, nothing about balancing their personal bank ledger. I don't know who you're talking about there, buddy. My bank ledger is pretty solid.
There are a lot of Americans that he's talking about, though. I'll agree with
that's a general statement, but we're talking about sports, and it reflects on us. And I tell you that my bank accounts and that stuff is in good shape. I pay my bills. And
I don't think he was pointing his finger right at you, but you let that comment he made putting geriatric. So now we're putting geriatrics on the fields now. You let that one slide?
Well, the guy's a grandfather. I mean, whatever. I mean, if I didn't have a hip problem, I'd still be playing rugby and softball, bottom line.
Hey, look, I take exception to that statement. Somebody in his 50s, I'm going to let you know I'm still in my prime, okay?
Well, and the other piece of this too is, I may have a hip issue, but the hip issue isn't because of being a geriatric, which I'm not. It's because of an injury in the Army. I mean, we have people missing limbs. That doesn't mean they're not serviceable. Anyway, I get he means it in good fun. So we're not going to take offense to it.
I was gonna say, as the song goes, I may not be as good as I once was, but I'm good once as I ever was.
All right, you guys are talking over each other, and I still think I understood both of you.
You still got it though, huh?
You got 2 ears.
You're right. I got 2 ears. I can listen to both sides. These noise canceling Bose headphones are really awesome. They may look a little odd on air, but they're really awesome. As long as the battery doesn't die. I can tell when the battery dies because suddenly the sound gets very different in here because noise cancellation goes away. But guys, let's talk very quickly about the Unaffordable Care Act. The Republicans now are trying to come up with their version of a plan to save the subsidies or to come up with an alternative to it. As I got my letter from the Veterans Administration email telling me that my annual insurance coverage letter is there, I downloaded it and said yes, and because you have to show that to the tax man. It says yes, you do indeed have insurance coverage, but I don't use it. It just reminds me of just what a fragile medical system we have, which has been tampered with, and in my view, utterly perverted by the Unaffordable Care Act. And this whole thing with the Biden era subsidy top off expiring now, a lot of people are waking up to the reality that others have been paying their bill. I mean, a lady was complaining because she's been paying $300 a year for medical insurance. That's a lot less than I pay as a combat veteran after 36 years for TRICARE, which is one of the most generous programs out there. But the fact that I have to pay for something that was promised me for free back there in the 1980s is disgraceful. And the fact, and more important, that I'm paying $1,000 of her medical insurance, she only pays $300. I'm disgusted by that. And I'm sorry for you, lady, but that's not my fault that Obama screwed up the medical insurance system. But a lot of people are finding out the true cost of their medical insurance, which the rest of us has been footing for them for 22 million people for the past 15 years. Any thoughts on that, Todd?
No, I agree. It's time to do away with it. As Nancy Pelosi, we got to pass it to see what's in it. We've seen what's in it. It's not good. It's destroyed what good health care that we actually had in place. Not perfect, but what we did have in place, it destroyed it.
100%. John, any comments before we run out of time
Well,
here on that?
as we said before, subsidies are just killing the country. Deficit spending leading to debt and killing our country. We can't afford to go down this road. It's God, country, family in that order. And if we don't take care of the country, there isn't going to be nothing for our family. So we need to do something about this. It should never have existed in the first place. Okay, every state has an insurance commission. Insurance commissions work for the people of their state. So you had everything on a state level that worked well. And that's why you used to see the ads. They used to say not available in California because the liberals made it so difficult for the companies that they said, hey, you know what? We just won't provide insurance for you people anymore. Or they had to raise the rates in those states. But the rest of us did just fine. So if you're going to do anything on a federal level, it should have been something more flexible like an insurance commission where they can adjust things accordingly as they needed to be adjusted as things transgressed. But instead, they decided to pass something stupid like Obamacare, which case, they let the industry itself write the bill, submit the bill, and be the greater beneficiaries of the bill. So everybody's making money except the person who's paying the bill, and that's you and me.
There you go.
Well, 100%. And that's going to pretty much wrap it up for this weekend, folks. We're running out of time, and we appreciate you being here once again. That's a topic we're going to talk about next week. We got 2 shows left before Christmas next week on the 17th, and then Christmas Eve. And then it'll be Christmas Day, and hopefully people celebrate the birth of Christ. And those who are secular, enjoy your Christmas, Santa Claus, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and Frosty the Snowman. But for everybody else, Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah to our Jewish friends out there. For Todd in East Tennessee, John in Nashua, this is Chris Wyatt saying so long. We'll see you next week. God bless. Merry Christmas.